Okay, looks good. All right, boom. All right, I think we are live. What is going on, everybody? This is one half of the Xbox 2 podcast. I am your host, Randall419, the man with the million. And unfortunately, my co-host, my rock, Jez Corden of Windows Central, is not here today. He is not feeling very good after his bout with some vertigo. He went to the hospital. So make sure, if you guys are in chat and you're listening, make sure you DM or tweet Jez and wish him a speedy recovery, because he is not feeling good. But doesn't matter, because we really don't need Jez Corden anyways. We have a stacked panel of great content creators that I've gathered here today to talk about Xbox's E3. You know, some of these people are my really good friends that I've always wanted to have on. So I'm just going to go from the top and introduce one of my really good friends, panel member of RDX, but the creator of Games Talk Live on the Fonzarelli Gaming channel. My good friend, Jay Fonzarelli. What's going on, Fonz?
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm glad to be here. Finally, I get to make it to an Xbox 2 with you, man. And unfortunately, Jez couldn't be here, and that sucks. I also fight vertigo sometimes, so I totally feel his pain right now. Speedy recovery, Jez, and no filmic gaming for you, sir.
Yeah. We wish Jez to get real healthy real soon, because as we know, people tune into this podcast to hear Jez, not to hear me. We already have people backing out because they're like, Rand? Nah, screw this. We want Jez. So we also have the one and only Gaming Forte, one of the co-hosts of the DPS podcast with Slow-Mo Backslap, my buddy Forte. What's going on, man?
Yeah, man. I just wanted to be the third wheel on the box, but I guess we could be four wheels with a spare tire. So this is pretty amazing, and lovely time to be here with you, man. And the people that are here with us is pretty amazing. I'm just honored that you reached out to actually do this. So thanks a lot, man.
Of course. And everybody's information is linked in the description. Their channels to link to their podcasts and stuff, because everybody here does great work. As Dovahkiin says, wait a minute, no Jez? Bye. Yeah. User Prime says, shout out to Jez, let him know he's missed. He's definitely missed. He really wishes he could be here with everybody. But, I've also had dealt with vertigo, and, it sucks, man, especially if you can't really, tilt your head in any sort of way. You get really dizzy and sick, so...
Nah, guys, great to be here. Yeah, as you guys already said, sad Jez can't join us, but we've got a good crew here, man. Love all these guys, and Rand, really appreciate the invite. My first Xbox 2, looking forward to it.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff here to talk about. It's a big week for Xbox, but before we get into all that good stuff, I just gotta ask what you guys been playing. Ains, I'll go to you first. What's been keeping you busy on the Xbox or PlayStation or God forbid the Nintendo Switch?
Oh, yeah, all right, easy. No, I've been playing a lot of Ratchet and Clank on the PS5, and I've been playing Chivalry 2 on the Xbox. When I can find time, because as you guys all know, right, this week's been a little crazy with E3 and Summer Game Fest, and so very little time to game this week. But loving Ratchet and Clank, real fun game, and then Chivalry is just ridiculous. I don't know if you guys have played it. I call it like Battlefield 1100. It's just like 64 players swinging swords and cutting each other's heads off. It's hilarious. So, been enjoying those two things.
Excellent. Forte, do you even play games, or you just do podcasts?
No, I actually play games. I actually play a lot of games.
Do you play any games other than Destiny? I guess I would.
I haven't turned Destiny on in over a week.
So you come on the podcast, and I'm still gonna hit you with that stuff.
That's fine. I mean, listen, I got over between Destiny 1 and 2, close to 11,000 hours. So yeah, I mean, I played that game a lot. So I will never escape that game but ultimately I just been playing a lot. I've been playing a lot of catch up. I'm still playing Mass Effect, so I'm still going through Mass Effect 2, Legendary Edition on that one. I've been playing Ratchet and Clank. Started playing Dirt 5. Because I was like, I've been feeling, seeing that Forza trailer got me wanting to just do some racing. And I was like, well, I already did a lot of Forza Horizon 5. So I started playing Dirt 5. And I was like, yo, this is way better than I remember it being. So been doing that. And then yeah, then podcast this entire weekend and working, slinging Xboxes to all those hungry consumers out there that, they say don't want them, but unfortunately they
You
really
mean to
do.
tell me people actually want the Xbox?
I can tell you that people actually camped out for them.
They camped out for the impossible.
People actually camped out, man. They called me the day before. It's like, is it possible I could camp out? Can I bring a tent? Yeah. I got to work at 8 o'clock that next morning. We opened at 11. And there was about... they were all spoken for. I had 22 of the X's. And I want to say 16 of them, people had camped out starting at like 3 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, people wanted those systems. And not a system to be found within 30 minutes of us opening across our whole region. So yeah, people want Xboxes.
Must be because people love their E3, but awesome. Mr. John Dark says, I want to say hello, fellas. Rand, love the show, and thank you for bringing on these incredible guests. That's right. Everybody should follow them. Go in the description, click on their channels, subscribe, watch their shows because they're amazing. Shout out to Elden Ring Insider, Miles Dampier. See, Miles, you got some fans out there.
Oh.
I got a question real quick. Miles, is that how you say your last name? Dampier?
It depends who I'm pandering to. If I'm catering to the American audience, it's Dampier.
Dampier.
I was about to say, because that A does not sound like an R.
I'd like to sound like it's more sophisticated, like Dampier,
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's technically right, Rand. You are a gentleman with taste. You are a cultured, distinguished gentleman, and that's why you say it as Dampier.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Dovakin says Metro Exodus is fire, and Adam says Rand and crew, Colin Moriarty is hearing Deathloop might be a PS5 console exclusive only forever. Any news about this?
We wanted to go into that. I mean, we can, but
we'll save that. I mean, I doubt it. Flame says, "Wait, where's Jezanays? Is he shrimply missing?" Oh my God, the puns are killing me here. So,
no,
Miles, what have you been up? What have you been playing, man?
I'm with Ains. I've been going all in on Chivalry 2.
Yeah, man.
Such a good dumb game.
Yeah, we got to team up, man.
We do. It's absolute chaos. 64 players. 90% of the time, you're just getting killed by your own teammates because everyone's just swinging like mad, chopping each other's heads off, lighting each other on fire. It is the most beautiful chaos I've experienced in a long time. So I've been sucked into that quite a bit, and that's been the main thing I've been playing.
Excellent. Do you guys see there's a new Xbox Twitter hashtag? Xbox, what is this? The Xbox...
Xbox and chill.
Xbox and chill with the mini fridge. I just saw it pop up. Yeah. The marketing department is going overtime for that one.
Just tell me
Do they
when I
not
need
realize
to pre-order.
Do they not realize what that means?
What does that mean? Of course, I'm sure. Of course, they realize what it means. And there is Jez in the chat with the super chat with the whole bunch of shrimps. Jez, everybody's missing you, man. They basically said this isn't a podcast worth turning into if Jez L. Shrimp isn't on the podcast. So we hope you feel good, and if you can jump in, jump in if your vertigo allows it. But thank you for stopping by, Jez. And Fonz, it's your turn, man. What sort of games have been keeping you occupied lately?
Well, I am still in the middle of Mass Effect 2.
Yes, the GOAT.
Yeah, the GOAT. Great game. I've dabbled with some other Game Pass games, as I always do. Try some games out. If I don't care for it, just move on to the next. But I love that about Game Pass. And it triggers so many people when they say, you've played 100+ games off Game Pass and haven't beat them all. And it's like, yeah, I get to dabble and try and, rent a game and try it out for the weekend. And I love it. I wish PlayStation had that as day and date as well. Because I would definitely get it over there. Yeah. But Mass Effect 2 is what I'm playing right now.
Excellent. Thank you for Brad Browning becoming the newest member of the channel. Appreciate it. I actually just finished up the entire Mass Effect Legendary Edition. 1, 2, and 3. It's the only game I've been playing the last month. Over 100 hours. And I've already said it to Ainsley. I think 3 is better than 2. after playing through them all. Although, the ending to 3 is still a little bit, still not great.
Yeah.
But man, the combat is so much more improved. The story is just, I don't know, the whole thing was just great. And honestly, I started Ratchet and Clank afterwards, and I was just kind of like, man, this is disappointing because it's not Mass Effect. You play a
Wow.
masterpiece and then you play a game right after it, but the game right after it doesn't feel very good because it's not the game you're just playing that's a masterpiece. That's kind of what I was feeling with Ratchet and Clank. I was just like, this isn't Mass Effect, and it's not as good.
Good thing this is an Xbox channel and not a PlayStation channel.
That's a spicy
If it was
take.
a PlayStation channel, they'd be talking about Xbox anyways.
Oh, touche.
That's right.
That's the truth.
Thank you, God the Blessed One, for the super chat. I appreciate that, man. So anyways, let us talk about E3. Not specifically the Xbox One, at least right away. I kind of want to get your guys' opinions on this E3 overall. If, you think it's kind of lost its relevance, if you were satisfied with all the different shows. And I'm going to start it off with Forte. What do you think about E3 this year? Did it live up to the hype? Did it completely suck? I thought it was absolutely god-awful. And E3 is pretty much dead forever. But what do you guys think about it?
Man, you just teed it up, man. I'm just going to have to take it off. I'm going to have to take it out to the yard, man. It was pretty bad. It was only 2 shows, in my opinion, that lived up to any type of expectation. And then it really just comes down to how you feel about Nintendo in general, if they even lived up to your expectation. But for me, it was like a bunch of stuff that was just put together at the last second, it felt like, even though I know a lot of these companies and a lot of these publishers put a lot of hard work into it. So you never want to, take that and just say, oh, this was terrible. But then again, that everybody's looking forward to this. People take off work for this. I mean, I took off Xbox Day just for the experience of sitting at home and be able to talk to friends and, see exactly what they were going to offer. And in that case, I was happy with that day. But then everything else around it was just like, okay, we got this panel, we got the discussion going over here. We have, CGI trailer of stuff that we saw 2-3 years ago that we should be seeing some gameplay for. And it's not exclusive to just one show. It pretty much was across the board with all of them. A lot of that has to do with, I believe, still with COVID and stuff. But ultimately, E3 was kind of a letdown, but there was a lot of stuff that I still enjoyed. There was bits and pieces from every show that I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. I like some of the deep dives and stuff, but as a person that usually, starting on Sunday through at least Tuesday, where I'm kind of glued to my TV or glued to just different news articles and stuff, seeing what people are saying, or even just trying to find information about games that were talked about earlier in the week. Kind of that stuff was kind of all over the place. And I was like, the only thing that E3 is really good for now is just consolidating a lot of information into one week. Hopefully we can get back to what we were experiencing 3-4 years ago. I don't think that's the case, because I think a lot of these developers and publishers now realize they could just hit the go live button at any time they want to. PlayStation could drop a God of War trailer tomorrow, 50 million views later, everybody's talking about it, and there's 1,000 articles being written about it. E3 never happened. So it's kind of a hard thing for them to try to fix, but I just think the ESA kind of needs to find a way to spruce it up and bring a little bit more life to it. But I don't even know if that would even be possible. But I enjoyed the things that I liked at E3, which was Xbox and Nintendo, and all the rest of the stuff is kind of meh.
Kind of meh, huh? Ainsley, you've been covering E3 for a while. What'd you think of this year?
Yeah, I don't know, guys. I thought it was pretty poor overall. I know I'm not even pandering to this being an Xbox show, but if it wasn't for Xbox's conference and the information they shared, even with the follow-up conference yesterday,
yes,
this year would have been, just horrible. We saw some really bad conferences, whether it's Square Enix. I didn't think Ubisoft was that good. There wasn't a lot of good presentation. There's plenty of good content coming to be excited about. But in terms of presentation, man, some of these companies just need to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to present a show. Um, and then, just the disorganization of it. They tried to do better this year by keeping it contained within like a week and having kind of a lineup and times and everything, but it still just doesn't have the same feel as the years when, you knew when these big kind of major conferences were and you had people in the live audience and there's the 100,000 plus people in LA kind of getting together. It's just not the same. So I don't know, man. I'm really looking forward to. I know the mayor of LA came out and said that they're already looking forward to doing E3 in person next year. We don't really know what that looks like yet, but I'm already looking forward to going back and just meeting up with all you guys and everyone in the community because it's just a different experience. So this year didn't do it much for me. I thought the Xbox conference crushed it. I know we've all talked about it at length. I thought that was the best show possibly they've ever done. But if I take that out of the equation, like the rest of the week was pretty messy.
Right.
Yeah.
I completely.
That was as a question. Since you are a person that has been to E3, do you think that whole, like you just said, you talked about meeting up with people and talking about the things that you talked about because we're gamers and when gamers get together, they talk about the stuff that they love the most. Do you think that has a lot to do, especially just for you mostly because E3 is viewed mostly from people abroad, from afar, but for you in general, you think that has a big part of why it was a little more disappointing to you because you don't have that camaraderie that you normally did have?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. And there's probably some bias there because of that, right? Like when you're there and it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're just hanging out at a house or you're at a restaurant or just walking around and you're chatting with people you don't get to see normally. You kind of forget about the lackluster conferences that are going on during, you know what I mean? Because you're in the middle of it. Whereas if you're just at home sitting on the TV waiting for something to happen, it's obviously a very different experience. So, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know obviously when you talk global, it's a tiny percentage of people that get to go and be in the area for E3. So, but I just hope, my biggest hope for the people that have always wanted to do it, that it comes back next year in some form where people who kind of were planning to go in 19, you know what I mean, and had plans or would have gone this year, that they get to go and it's at least a good experience to kind of hang out and be there in person because it is unique, you know what I mean? It is special.
Right. I got to give a shout out to Sillet Bang 007. He says, love the show as always. First time sending a super chat. Appreciate your contribution to the Xbox community. Big up to the panel. Yeah, the panel's going to make this show, guys, because I'm just in host mode. Although I'm sure I'll drop my my rants whenever we get to some of that stuff. So, Fonz, I know you're a man who has very strong opinions about everything, right? Whether it's Battlefield 2042 and $70 or, whatever else. I'm sure there's another topic here that I picked that you have a strong opinion on. What'd you think of this year's E3 overall?
If I put a score on the entire E3, I would have to say C-, D+, C- at best. I think that, all the conferences outside of, again, what Gaming Forte said, Nintendo and Xbox, they were just, bad outside of those two conferences. But here's the thing. You have to kind of put an asterisk on this year's E3 because, again, as Ain said, it's not one that you could attend. And I don't know about you guys, like, I love E3. I love the time of year because I know it's going to be a time where we see games, and as gamers, that's what we want. And like, we get excited for shows like this. And at this particular time of year, it just, it's sort of like our Christmas and all that stuff. For me, though, when there's people actually there attending E3, I haven't attended yet. I do want to attend someday. I think it would be pretty fun. But I feel like without the crowds there in the audience, there's a lot left, out of the show. Like, that brings so much to the show, I think, when you hear the hype levels of all the gamers that are actually attending. It just adds to all these conferences. It really does. You may think that's silly, but for me, it just adds something to it. I don't know if you guys watch, like, sports or anything, but when they don't have big crowds, it's not the same. Like, it doesn't feel the same when you don't hear those crowds and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like, you just have to put that asterisk there because of COVID. I mean, all around, the lockdown has hurt so many games and prevented a lot of games from being shown, a lot of games from being made. Mocap wasn't being done during the year-long lockdown. There's a lot of things here that weren't happening because of COVID, and it kind of ruined this year's E3. If it weren't for Xbox and Nintendo, this E3 would have been complete trash.
Would have been a disaster, wouldn't it have been?
It would have been so horrible. But again, you have to chalk it up to COVID all around because we would not have the situation we're in now. I mean, I think it would have been better. I think that they would have shown more. I think games would have been progressing more, and I think those crowds do help these shows. They do. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on this.
Awesome. Shout out to the Herd. He says, word on the street is that the Sony ponies replaced Jez's mayo with Vertigo, inducing Miracle Whip. This means war. Jez is never going to live down these Vertigo memes. But as someone who's actually had Vertigo, it is definitely not something to be trifled with. Where you like move your head in one direction, all of a sudden like the room is spinning out of control. It definitely sucks. Professor Chaos says, it seems Sony has adopted a 5 to 10 hour game model to possibly push games out quicker. Do you see Xbox adopting a similar model? I think teams are going to make the games that they want, regardless of length. Like something like Starfield's they already said is going to be 100 hours, but then a smaller project from Obsidian might be 5 hours. It just really depends on the type of game that the teams are looking to make. Marstone says, what up, Rand? E3 is pretty much dead to me. No, that's strong words. Xbox and Bethesda should just have their own show. Hector says, Microsoft equals options, want to buy physical, digital, rent, stream, play on console, phone, tablet, soon TV or PC. Imagine playing Ragnarok on PC with more graphical options and alt-right support. And Dovikin says, Go ahead, Spence. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, could I just touch upon this E3 again? Because a lot of people that say that, it's dead to them and stuff. I get it. I get that. But at the same time, you have to look at it this way. At least I look at it this way. All these E3 shows, let's say all these different companies decided to do their own thing at different times of year, what makes it special with them all doing it at one time of year is not only that we get to go there and see all these conferences at once and whatnot and all that, but also that they kind of try to outdo one another. I feel like if you were to spread these out and they have their own shows whenever, I feel like maybe there would be a little less, going on in these shows. I think that, they could be worse. Who knows? Like, I just feel like E3, they try to put the best show possible forward for them. And I know that's crazy to say when you see something like what the Ubisoft show this year, because it didn't seem like they put their best foot forward. But man, I really think that with E3 and the shows, and all these shows are right around each other, that they do try to do their best. And I think if they were to just separate that and do their own shows, it wouldn't be as good. I just feel that way. I don't know what you guys feel.
Last year wasn't good because it was spread out. Like, you never knew when something was happening, and it was tough. So then we thought, like, this year could be good because it's all centralized for the most part outside of PlayStation in that week. But like you said, Fonz, nobody showed up. It was just basically Xbox and Nintendo. Like, nobody. It was like COVID had really like prevented them from building things. So it's definitely. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see if E3 can truly come back next year in person when COVID really isn't a thing anymore, and they can present some announcements in the ways that they want to. So, but I want to get Miles in on this. Hit me with your hottest take, Mr. Dampier.
So I wrote an interesting editorial.
Wait, you write now? You're not just a video producer on Windows Central?
I'm a double threat, as they call it in the industry. So I wrote an editorial about how basically not everyone needed to be at E3 this year. The ESA last year was really bad about trying to pretend like COVID wasn't happening, and they waited to cancel E3 until the very last possible minute. So the entire build-up last year, they were trying to pretend and downplay what COVID was and what it was doing, and all the people dying because of it. And then this year, now that more and more people are vaccinated, they are very quick to try to get everything back to quote unquote normal, which it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. But on one hand, it was awesome to see all of these companies come together. Seeing Xbox and Nintendo in a big way at this event together was incredible. It felt so good to have some sort of normalcy back. On the other hand, you had a lot of companies who wanted to pretend like everything was normal. Your Ubisofts, your Capcoms. I love Capcom, but the Capcom showcase, in my opinion, was pointless. It did not need to be there at all. For them to come out and say, we literally just started DLC on Resident Evil Village. We weren't planning on it, but the game sold well, so now we're going to make it. Like, why? Why is that at a showcase? Like, you could have just had little blog posts. I didn't need to see 8 minutes of Ace Attorney. I get that Ace Attorney is cool for some people. I don't need 8 minutes of it. So some people didn't need to be there, but there was this pressure, I feel like, from the ESA, the partners, these publishers, to put on a big smile, get out there, and pretend that everything was back to normal, which we're still not there. We're getting there in the US. I know some other countries are still struggling with it. So we're in a weird limbo state where everyone wants things to immediately be back to normal, but it's going to take some time. And so that's what this E3 was. Xbox, Nintendo, Devolver Digital, in my opinion, all had great showcases. All had really cool stuff to show. A lot of other companies didn't need to be there at all, but were there anyway, and it led to a lot of weird moments, a lot of poor pacing, and a lot of, in the case of Gearbox, a lot of cringe, which I guess they're pretty infamous for.
Okay, excellent. We got a question here from Joseph. He says, any advice on starting a gaming channel? Love this community, love games, but have no insider knowledge, and all I know on the technical side is having a fast SSD makes the most powerful. Right? And we're all content creators. All of us have YouTube channels. So do you have any advice on starting a gaming channel for Joseph?
Just hit record. Literally. That's it. If you it's gonna be rough at the beginning because you really got to find your niche and find what you exactly want to talk about. The information's out there. You just got to put the work in to put that information together in a way that it can be digested in a video format or however you want to do it. But literally hitting the record button and saying something is how you basically start it. If you don't do that, then you won't get anywhere with it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Rand. Go ahead.
You go ahead. I'll answer later.
There's two. I've had this question quite a few times. There's two things I always say. Is one, just as Forte said, you can always find a reason not to do it and hesitate. But if you something you want to do, you need to step out and just do it. Don't be worried about it. But the first thing I always say is do what you're passionate about. Right? Like, don't look at other people's content and think I have to match this or do this. Just do what you know, what you love, because that'll generate a community that speaks to you. And then two, as you're doing that, and if you start to do that, don't feel like you have to chase or keep up with others. One of the toughest things I see people do, or mistakes I should say, is they have friends or people they know or people in the community that may have videos that do more hits or whatever it is, right? More subs. And then they'll start to try to adjust their content, but then they get away from what they know. They get away from what they're passionate about. They don't see the same success, and then they lose interest in it. So stay with what you know, and don't get discouraged by looking at other people. Just, stick with it and put the passion into it.
Yeah, I would say just be yourself. Find something that you're passionate about. Videos don't have to be super highly edited like a Colt Eastwood or a J. Fonzarelli. It's all about getting your opinion out there, and you'll get better over time. But one of the things you kind of got to get over is the fear of doing it, the fear of having people judge you, because they will, and just find a free software that allows you to basically record videos, and you don't have to pay. There definitely are some alternatives out there. 'Cause I use Adobe Premiere Pro, but that costs money. But if you're just starting out, I would just find a free one and just have fun. Talk about what you want. Don't worry about views, and don't worry about subs, and don't worry about money and that stuff. And that'd be the way I would go about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the way I did go about it in the beginning. I had no expectations for this channel. You know what I mean?
One thing I think a lot of people fall into when they start a channel is they look at the news and they decide, okay, I got to cover this, this, and this. You don't have to cover anything. You should want to cover something. And that is the best advice I'll give you. Like I used to try to emulate what some other people would do with trying to just do news and stuff. And it really wasn't for me because I didn't really care about what I was speaking on. I want to just cover topics that I want to talk about and that I care about. And that's what I would say to you. Just cover the things that you want to cover, and you'll be much more successful if you do that than just try to fake it.
Yeah, and the last thing I will say, because this actually happened to me, and being in a party or a podcast with these guys right now, you kind of get to the point where you see content that you do like to make, and you see other people making it, and you kind of get into your mind that, oh, that's something that, you know, I want to make that, but it's already being talked about. Like everywhere I go, everybody's talking about it. You got to kind of remember that just because other people are talking about it, the people that do subscribe to you, the people that do follow you, they come to you for your opinion. So even if you see 1,000 people out there talking about that conversation, you have a unique opinion on that conversation that they may want to see. So don't let other people stop you from making the content that you think you should make, because that's what you think your subscribe base might want to see.
Yeah.
I think Rand and Fawns bring up the most important point of like a gaming channel specifically. Like a gaming channel at the end of the day should be fun. Like if you're ever doubting that this is something you can have fun with and this is something you can have fun talking about, then that's when you kind of need to like reconsider how you're approaching it. Because, you know, we can compare what other people are doing and, you know, put yourself down based on how somebody else is performing. But I think the most important thing is just really having fun with it. Being able to have fun talking about games. If the people you see the most successful in the space seem to have the most fun talking about gaming.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah,
Very
I mean,
true.
doing YouTube is pretty awesome. I was having a lot of, I mean, I have a lot of fun now, but even when I just started just to do kind of whatever I wanted, it was a lot of fun. And you meet a lot of great people, so start it if you can, but just kind of just do what you want. Dovakin says, Jeff's show without Elden Ring was easily a D. Binyabek says, Greg, glad E3 is back. Summer of Games sucked last year. Mars says that was his opinion and deal with it. Silver Fox says, I never see Xbox talking about going after either studios or franchises from these studios that have went under. Are they not pursuing those ventures? There's so much potential there. Xbox is always talking to studios about acquisitions. That's just kind of the reality of the situation. But those acquisitions are always hard to nail down. C-Rat says, Take-Two was the reason the whole segment was awful. I did hear Take-Two's press conference was pretty god-awful. Nicholas says, who's ready for Back 4 Blood? Day one on Game Pass. That's going to be pretty huge. And thank you, Tito, for the super chat with no message. Hector says, thoughts on my last super chat? Sony needs to adapt. I mean, Sony's going to do what they always do, and they're very good at it. Will they have to adapt if the industry changes around them in 5 to 10 years? Potentially. But, I mean, where do you see Sony doing a lot of things on PC? They're already talking about going to the mobile and stuff. I think they kind of see the writing on the wall. They're just a little bit slower going after it than Xbox is. Dan says, Sony guys are saying they won't buy an Xbox to play Bethesda games, but they will play them on PC. They do realize that's still supporting Xbox. Well, a lot of people just kind of make up their own narratives in their heads. But with E3 overall finished, I wanted to get you guys' each individual takes on Xbox's show. Now, we already, Ains has already said that he thinks Xbox's show was their best ever. Can you expound on that a little bit? Like, why do you think this was their best show ever? And will this show and the attention it's garnered start to kind of change the perception around Xbox as a brand moving forward?
Yeah, Yeah, so there's a couple reasons why I say that. And you know, it's hard to be definitive. It's not like these have definitive grades, right, over so many years. But I think there's a couple reasons why I think that. One is timing. Um, Xbox needed this show. The timing of it with being where they are in the generation, in the industry at the moment, and shifting the narrative, as you just said, was important. And I think this show is just one of the pieces that has done that. Now, they've been shifting narrative for a while already because, quite frankly, other than a few hiccups here and there, they've been crushing it, right? But this show was doubling down on, look, we hear you. All the other pieces are at play now, right? We have the hardware, we have the cloud infrastructure, and all these kind of the services and Game Pass. They're all kind of building up. And what they needed to do here was show both Xbox fans and people who are looking at the Xbox ecosystem from the outside why they need to come into the ecosystem or why they've invested in the ecosystem. And I think they did that. The other reason I say they did that in such a successful way is when you kind of take a step back and you break down this show and what it included, right? So you're talking about 30 games, 27 of which are launching on Game Pass. They had a few small games, they had a few blockbusters, they had surprises, they had every genre covered. You know, obviously Starfield's a monster, Redfall's going to be amazing. I'm a huge Arcane fan. And then you had things like Psychonauts, you had things like what do you call it? Somerville from Jump Ship, you know, all mixed in there. Halo showed really well, which was, guys, you know me well enough. I could spend hours talking about Halo, but that needed to show well, and it did. Forza Horizon blew people away. It's just the pacing, the organization, the quality of the content, the breadth of the content. It was just all there. It's the show that many of us have been waiting for Xbox to put on, and pretty critical of them at times about misstepping with some of their big opportunities, but I think they nailed this one. And more than anything, I just hope that they're hearing all the feedback and all the love and all the applause of this show, and they're saying, okay, we got it. It took us a while. We finally figured out how to, really nail one of these shows from all aspects, and I hope they do that in the future. But I think, again, quality, the breadth of the content, the timing of it, and the point in this kind of generation, the point in the gaming industry where it really put them on a pedestal and raised some eyebrows. I think they accomplished all of that.
So by far, you agree that this was their best show as far as you can remember, right? Even dating back to the 360 show or to the 360 days.
Yeah, and it's hard, right? I'm old, guys. My memory
We're
doesn't
all
remember every detail of every show. So there might have been a show somewhere that I loved, more. But I just think there's so many aspects of this that come into play, and people point back to 2018. I don't know if any of us. I was at that show where they announced the 5 acquisitions, and they had some cool things and stuff. But I think they're in a better position in the industry. I think we would all agree that they're in a better position now than they were then. And this was more important. This was more important to leading to what's coming and showing the fruits of what they've been building on for the past couple years, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Miles, best Xbox E3 ever? What are some standout moments from this show for you that you'll remember?
I think this is the best Xbox conference of this generation at the very least. There were a lot of complaints and concerns last year and the year before that. And the meme has been, just wait till next year in the Xbox E3 camp. And, people on the other side use that as kind of fodder to downplay what Xbox is doing. But for me, and I think what Xbox needed to do with this show, I think they did exactly what they needed to do for this platform. And they needed to explain the narrative of Bethesda with Xbox. So that was a huge thing for me. So ahead of this, there were tons and tons of conversations about acquisitions. Is Xbox going to announce 5 slapping banger acquisitions at this E3? And I was in the camp that, no, please don't. I know that's, people wanted that Gatorade get hype moment with the acquisitions, but I don't think that was the right call because I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit here. a lot of the teams that we've seen Xbox acquire in the past, we haven't really seen what they're doing. We haven't seen the fruits of that. So unless you're someone who's invested heavily into Xbox already, acquisitions aren't that exciting. Xbox needed to correct the narrative that they have no games, and they needed to explain how Bethesda works. So starting the show with Starfield, the first new Bethesda IP in a long time, and then saying, this isn't Xbox exclusive. That was huge. I did not expect them to do that, but in hindsight, I'm really glad that that's how they started it. And then they bookended it with Redfall, then another big Bethesda title that will be an exclusive. And so that sets this narrative and tone that, you know, us in the community, we knew Bethesda games were going to be exclusive, but now everyone knows that. Going forward, everyone knows how Bethesda games are going to work in the Xbox ecosystem, and that was huge. And then they slammed 90 minutes of game, 30 games in 90 minutes. Like, it was almost hard to keep up with the pace of the number of games that they were showing. 27 out of 30 in Xbox Game Pass day one. Pushing the value of Xbox Game Pass, completely crushing the narrative that Xbox has no games. So all of the memes, all of the nonsense and noise that we typically get following an Xbox showcase was shut down. I remember last year watching the Summer Game Showcase, being kind of excited. I was like, that was a pretty solid show. They did a decent job. It didn't blow my mind, but I thought they did a good job. Then I go on social media, and people are just dumping all over Halo, dumping all over Xbox. I went on Twitter following this show. I saw almost no negativity at all. There was this polar shift in the perception of Xbox as a brand and what they're doing. I was at GameStop a couple days ago trying to get a Series S when they had the restock. I was sitting there with my headphones in. I had 4 different people in the line turn to me and say, "Hey, did you watch the Xbox E3 showcase?" And I just smiled to myself. I'm like, yeah, of course I did.
Don't you know who I am? I'm
Miles from Windows. No, I wasn't that guy. But I had people in line talking about how, you know, I have a PS5, love my PS5, but I saw that Xbox showcase and I'm in line right now buying an Xbox because of what Xbox showed at E3. And that, to me, is the biggest testament of what Xbox did.
Yeah, 100%.
Are you guys like me where like it was like 30 minutes into the show, 40 minutes, and you're looking at your clock like almost like they've already shown so much, and you're like, they're not even halfway done yet. Like the as Miles said, it was just so many games after games after games. It was hard to almost keep up with.
No, I didn't even notice the clock, man, because it was good. The
Fonz,
show was.
I know you love the show, Fonz, and you're someone who's very critical of Xbox in the past about some of their stuff.
Well,
2019, you weren't happy with their showing whatsoever. I remember being in that podcast with you.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about this year's show?
I think it has a lot to do with my turnaround with the Halo multiplayer, at least.
Ooh.
You know, I've been very critical of 343 and Halo and what they've done with the franchise so far. And for me, the jury is still out with the campaign, the storyline anyway. I'm, you know, not going to sit here and say, yeah, I think the story is going to be great now. No, that's not me. I'm still going into this very cautiously. However, it's in Game Pass. So, you know, of course I'll play it. I played freaking Halo 5 twice and I don't even care for that game. But that just shows you how much I do like Halo, but I'm just not a big fan of 343's campaigns. But their multiplayer, what they showed of the multiplayer, really, really drew me in, because the very first thing I noticed, and I just couldn't shut up about it, was the fact that this new engine they're using, the physics in it are just flat out amazing. Like, you shoot somebody in the face and their head goes back, and it's just that you can see that they've really concentrated on that impact with these weapons and where you're hitting these guys and how they're reacting to it. And that's the kind of thing that really pulls me into shooters, is that impact, that feel. And I can almost feel it just watching it. And as I'm watching that trailer progress during the show, I'm like, oh gosh, oh, look at that. Wow. You know, I'm just going, this is crazy, because Of course, this is going to translate to the campaign as well. It's got this. It's using the engine, physics, all that. It's got me more excited to play the game. That's a huge part of it for me. Also, the fact that they showed so much, and I know Ains touched on this. There was so many genres shown. There was something for everybody here. There was something for one of my granddaughters who loves Slime Rancher. Slime Rancher 2 was shown. She would absolutely love that game. And, gaming, we say it a lot, gaming's a selfish hobby. But guess what? We're just one person. Everybody has something out there that they love and they don't like. I think Xbox covered each of these genres perfectly. They had JRPGs. They also showed you a new IP at the very end of the show with Redfall. And it just got me thinking, like, wow, here's another new IP exclusive to Xbox on top of the IPs that are coming that they haven't even shown. They haven't even shown Fable. They haven't shown, what is it? Hellblade 2. They haven't shown these games this year. We really haven't seen much of them, so that alone, it gets me excited for the future of Xbox. When they got ZeniMax, okay, all of ZeniMax, they acquired them. That right there really solidified Xbox in a place of just overall being in competition. And that's what we need as gamers, is this competition. And I am just so freaking impressed with the pacing of this show as well. The way the show, I've watched the show twice. Okay. I watched it again because I just felt the pacing was incredible. I watched it again with my son. He loved it. He was sitting there going, wow, even Halo multiplayer to him looks great. And he's more of just a Fortnite guy. And he likes roguelike games as well. He doesn't really play Halo, but he likes what it looks like. He wants to try it. He wants to play it. So I think that it's just that overall this show, Xbox came to actually compete. And I think going forward, Xbox is going to be a real force in the industry again, like they were with the 360 days. I really think that Xbox is doing a lot of things right. And there's very little I am critical on at this moment with Xbox. And that's really big for me because I'm very critical of these companies. And I just think that Xbox right now is, firing on all cylinders. Really are.
Yeah, you definitely are very critical. So when you're saying that you have no complaints, and you thought it was one of their best shows ever, and Halo's impressed you considering how poorly it showed off last year, that speaks volumes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Of how you feel about the show.
Last year, that campaign, they showed that gameplay. I had no issues with the gameplay itself. Gameplay looked fun, but I didn't like the way it looked. It looked flat and uninspired. The graphics weren't really up to par. They've changed that. The graphics on the multiplayer, at least, look incredible. So that the graphics, even what they showed with, Chief in that little trailer going up to that new Cortana or whatever, that looked really good. You can tell by his armor that it looked a whole lot better than what they showed last year. The lighting on it, everything, the wear on the armor, it just looked really, really good. So, yeah, I mean, I really don't understand how some people looked at this conference and said, it was just okay. God, the pacing alone was just incredible. I've never seen a show, never. I'm saying that with a capital N, never saw a show with as good a pacing as this show. Never have.
Yeah, some people just don't want to give Xbox any credit. I mean, it kind of is what it is, and if they don't want to give them credit, they'll just push back the goalposts every single time. But before we get to Forte's take here, I got a whole bunch of super chats I wanted to read, and this one's for you, Forte. Love the show, and you got Forte on, so here's a $5. Stay badass, y'all. So finally, I'm getting some money back after being on your podcast and getting you all them views, Forte.
Hey man, hey, shout out to Jay's E, man. He's an avid supporter, man, and any crossover is good crossover.
Yeah, PVT Ghost says Xbox needs to bring back Project Gotham Racing 1 through 4 to back and pat. Hashtag sad. Hashtag bizarre creations. It's probably licensing issues, I would imagine, for why they can't bring those games to back and pat. Silver Fox says, I wonder if there'll be a Halo Infinite Collector's Edition, other merchandise announced closer to release. Probably, although I don't think we'll see a custom console, just of how everything is with the way the consoles are. Gaming Addict says, everybody gets an invite, but Addict shaking my head. Oh, come on, Addict. There's always times for more shows. Don't worry. You'll eventually make it to the big leagues. What do you mean the big leagues? You're on ILP, which is like bigger than almost every other show. Slayer Unites. Why is no one talking about how great Tunic is? I haven't actually played it yet. Flame says, no, don't forget Party Animals. Let's go. That would be another game that Fonz's granddaughter would probably end up loving, like Slime Rancher.
Hey, you know what? That might be fun to just get in a party and play that, with you guys. Could be.
Civilizer says, do you think Deathloop will come day one to Xbox Game Pass PC? Probably not. I was sure Sony probably has that one locked up pretty good. God the Blessed One says, the new thing is called Game Pass Welfare Pass, as if paying $70 a game is a status thing. Laughing my ass off. They're getting desperate. Yeah, the whole debate about buying or renting games, it's exhausting, honestly.
I used to rent games, at Blockbuster when I was a kid, and I didn't have no problem beating a game over the weekend, turning it in on Monday, and getting another game. Like it's not a big deal.
It's. I hope none of those people using that defense are using Netflix or Spotify. That's all I'm gonna say.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Or used like GameFly or Blockbuster in the past, right?
Or have ever said, I don't buy new consoles to play old games. Well, then why own them?
Nicholas says the Halo 5 multiplayer trailer was grappling. Indeed it was. Marstone says everyone got served except the stealth genre. Yeah, where's Sam Fisher? What the F? Every single year. And my predictions for every single year, I always say Sam Fisher's coming back in Splinter Cell, and every year I'm wrong. But it doesn't matter because I want it there. So Forte, how'd you feel about this Xbox show, man? Was it the show they needed? Did they convince you, among other peoples, that the roadmap for Xbox is rock solid?
Yeah, so it's the show. Not only was it the show they needed, it's the show that we needed. We needed it as a fan base, as consumers that definitely dive into the Xbox ecosystem more than anything. I think it's really close to their best, because I still think 2004 was their best, because to me, when you announce Forza for the first time, Halo 2, Peter Moore comes out with the tattoo November 9th on his arm. You get Mech Assault 2 that year. And then Xbox Live Arcade got announced that year with demos coming. EA for the first time bring their games to Xbox, because people didn't remember that when Xbox first came out, EA was a no-show for the first 3 years. So I think 2004 was the best, but 2020 was the resurgence of what everybody believed Xbox was. Like, for me, I felt like the value proposition was dead on. 30 games, 27 in Game Pass, basically $200. You can own all of these games over the course of your Xbox Live subscription for the next couple of years. And I think they nailed that home 100% as hard as they could. And then I just think that in general, just showing people what they want to see. Yes, am I a little disappointed I didn't see gameplay at something like Starfield? Yeah, but I know it's coming. I also am I'm a realist on some of the stuff. I know that development is hard. I know a lot of these studios already pumped out some games over the course of the last year to 2 years, so I know it's going to be kind of a recycling bin until they get a chance to showcase some of their new stuff. But then they show us trailers like Outer Worlds 2 that literally had me dying on the ground as I'm listening to it, because they're just making fun of all of the things that we normally do when we watch these trailers, and it kind of gives you the idea that Xbox and a lot of these developers understand what we are going through as gamers waiting for these games to come out. And like facing, I was watching it, I was like, normally you're always trying to find a spot to like get up and go do something, like go to the bathroom, go get something to drink. I'm sitting there like, yo, this is game. And then even when they're up there talking, it's very minimum. And then I love the idea of Bethesda opening and closing the show.
Yep.
Phil Spencer not being the focal point for the first time, and it feels like a decade almost when it comes to him having to push the narrative out about what we're doing with Xbox. He let Bethesda lead the charge with that. And I think that was a very, very conscious thing. And I also felt like they went to the Bethesda playbook when it comes to the way that they did the presentation around the games and stuff that they talked about. And the pacing was just, like I said, immaculate. And then Halo, I was really, really hard on Xbox last year about Halo. I loved the gameplay, but when I started seeing pop-ins going up the elevator, I was like, come on, man. This ain't it. And everybody kind of felt that way. Then to me, it's like 343 is that studio. I never had a problem with them when it came to the actual look of their game. Halo 5, beautiful. One of the best looking games on Xbox. Halo 4 on Xbox 360 looked like an Xbox One game when it came out. It was incredible. So seeing the kind of evolution of what the studio went through to get to where they got to last year was kind of disappointing. But, time heals all wounds, and everybody loves Halo. Halo is that stoic brand that everybody just wants to get behind. And everybody's rooting for it. And I'm just happy that they finally gave us something story-wise to say, we're getting back to the basics when it comes to this. We're going to get back to you caring about Chief, because the last time we played as Master Chief, we felt like, does 343 really care about Chief? They trying to give us another protagonist, and, they're trying to usher out Chief and usher somebody in. And I feel like they're finally understanding where we're coming from that. And it was really good to see. And I think they kind of shot over the bow when they came with the whole overview shot of the landscape, because I think there's a lot of things they still want to work on when it comes to the single player. And I think we'll get that stuff later. But it set the multiplayer up perfectly. It's like, when I looked at it, shout out to my homeboy Lord Cognito, the Iron Lords podcast. I did the stream with them on it. And seeing that trailer remind me of a Bungie trailer. I was like, look at this. I was like, literally, this is a Bungie trailer. It's meant to get you hyped.
Yep.
All the jump cuts, all the editing, all the chaos that's ensuing. So many things you could pick out of that one experience really spoke to me. And I said it right then. I was like, yo, outside of Battlefield 2042, which is another game that was at Xbox that I was super excited to see, Halo is literally going to give me everything I want in a multiplayer fix and single player fix, hopefully this year. I just want the game to be ready when it comes out. And if they can hit the ground running with Forza 5, Halo Infinite at the end of the year, and then we got Battlefield coming to the platform too at the end of the year, I think Xbox this year is in the best situation they've been in literally the last 3 to 4 years, and it's just going to get better and better. And that's why I gave the show a 10 out of 10. Not because it was a whole bunch of games that I was excited for, because let's be for real, a lot of those games I'm never going to touch. But the thing is, there's a game out there for everybody. I can kind of see the forest through the trees, just because I'm not excited for a game like Slime Rancher 2. It's in Game Pass, and I know my daughter loves the first Slime Rancher. So I know as soon as it hits Game Pass, she's going to jump in there and play it. And I know there's other hundreds of thousands of other people out there that will do that too. So it was something for everybody. And I think that's the thing that kind of pushed Xbox into another level for me, outside of just, leaning into my needs as a gamer. They leaned into a whole bunch of people's needs. And that was something that I was super excited to see.
You know what else is awesome? I got to piggyback off of what you said with the future. What's amazing to me is to think that the games that they didn't show that we know are being created right now, Fable, Hellblade 2, Starfield, they showed Starfield, but not really gameplay or anything. Next E3, when they show that gameplay and they show Hellblade 2, they possibly show Fable. I mean, next E3 could possibly be one of the best E3s ever again. If they keep this same format, if they keep this same, game after game, this is what we want. If you're listening out there, that format, keep it. It was beautiful.
So Fonz is saying, wait for E3.
No,
wait for next year's
What's your
E3.
next E3?
No, because I liked this E3. I'm just saying they have the potential for the next few E3s to be amazing because of the fact that we know what games are coming, what's down the line. I mean, you got Elder Scrolls 6 at some point, so maybe the following year they tease that. I'm just saying.
No,
There's
no,
a
I
lot
feel you.
of- the future is bright with Xbox.
That's what
Absolutely.
that's what Phil did really smartly, or at least whoever wrote the script was like, hey, yeah, we showed off Starfield, right? But we still have Fable, and we still have, Avowed, and we still have all these other games. There's like, hey, we showed off Halo Infinite, but there's still Perfect Dark, right? There's all these other games that they showed off the year before, and then all the new additions that they added this year, and there's still other games we don't know about, like. We know, IOI is working on our Project Dragon, which will probably I doubt will be revealed next year, but we know that that's a thing. Compulsion, we know, is working on a game, and we haven't even seen that. Coalition's working on 2 projects, one Gear 6 and something else, right? So it's like, even knowing what we know, there's still plenty of projects that we have no idea about. So you take all these things, like back when I was worried in 2017 that Xbox would even last the generation,
Yep.
and would have any games, and then here we are 4 years later, and it's like, yeah, like the it's stacked, like
I think that it just went out the window. That fear of what's going to happen with Xbox, because I know for a time there we were all thinking that, especially before the ZeniMax acquisition, it was like really weird. Like we were always wondering what can they show with these few studios that they have.
yeah.
Now it's. Look, I mean, it's amazing what Bethesda brings to the table.
It definitely is. Yeah. We have over 1,500 people watching live right now. Make sure you guys hit the like button if you're enjoying the show, subscribe, and make sure you guys go in the description and subscribe to each one of these fantastic gentlemen, because they always do a good job in the content that they make. Eagles fan says, do you guys believe Battlefield 2042 can still go to Game Pass? They're just waiting like Back 4 Blood to announce it. So really quickly, I'm going to answer. Just give me a yes or no. Battlefield 2042 launching in Game Pass. Fonz, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Forte, yes or no?
Yes.
Miles, yes or no?
Can I give context for my answer?
No, just a yes or no.
No.
Okay, no.
Not
There you
at
go.
launch.
Not at launch. Okay. Ains, yes or no?
No.
Okay, so we got 2 yeses, we got 2 nos. I'll break the tiebreaker, but I'm 50-50 on it. I think I'm leaning more towards no on that one. We have one here from PVT Ghost. The Forza franchise could still learn from the PGR series up to this point. Cockpit view motion like realism, yes please. PGR was the OG of racing on Xbox before Forza came to be, and it still shows. I mean, people love PGR. Kaloki514 says, there's a saying for my country, DR, you too busy envying your neighbor's plate that you forgot to eat your own. That's how I view console wars. Tyler B says, Elder Scrolls 6 or Avowed, which one are you guys more excited for? Great show. Same thing here.
Avowed.
Avowed you got Avowed, Forte?
Yep, Avowed, something
Avowed.
new.
So we got 2 Avoweds, Miles?
Avowed.
Wow, okay. We're going to go for the straight Avowed? Ains?
Yes, we are.
Wow, everybody's Avowed. I think it's maybe because we've seen at least a little bit of Avowed and we know nothing of Elder Scrolls, so
Exactly.
that might have something to do with it there.
Obsidian,
And we know
man.
Elder Scrolls is going to be good. Come on.
Yeah,
Or at least we know what it's going to
least-
be
yeah.
to an extent.
at least we know Avowed is something different. Scott says, seen many people ready to try Sea of Thieves for the first time or going back after a long hiatus for the Disney content. Sea of Thieves is content rich and is a great spot now. So, rapid fire again. Fonz, are you going to go back and play Sea of Thieves for this Johnny Depp Pirates of the
I never
Caribbean?
wanted. I never wanted to play it the first time I played it.
Okay,
So
so that's a no from Fonz. Forte, are you playing it because of Pirates of the Caribbean?
I actually put 8 hours into that game, and I said I would never do it again. But that DLC actually got me to want to add to my playtime.
So is that a maybe?
Do it.
Is that a maybe?
No, I will.
Oh, you
actually
will.
play
Okay,
it.
so we got
I will
one
actually
no,
play
one
it.
yes. Miles, you going back to playing Sea of Thieves because of Pirates?
Oh, I'm all in. I mean, I love Sea of Thieves, so let's go. Let's do it.
All right, Ains, you gonna check it out?
Probably not, but I don't think people are giving enough credit to this merger and how big it is.
It's
I agree.
it's a pretty big deal, and I'm actually considering playing Sea of Thieves to check it out, but we'll have to wait and see. Alan says last year's stuff, but obviously all of them can't come out, so
Well, they got to
a whole bunch of
stagger it
games.
for Game Pass.
They got to stagger it and have stuff for 2024. Dirt Griggity says Xbox showing a roadmap for the future is something Xbox fans have been asking for years. I have a feeling this is just the beginning. Great show, guys. Thank you. Yeah, so I think we're all cut up.
I think it's
here.
more of a roadmap for Game Pass, and it just that really is the highlight of everything going forward. Is the fact that you get to play these games in Game Pass day one. It's amazing. Like, honestly, that value is crazy. You literally have to spend thousands of dollars for all these games. It's insane what we're doing with Game Pass now here.
It is pretty
crazy.
ridiculous. Lord Roughness says an obvious W for Battlefield if it goes to Game Pass day one. That will really put the cat amongst the pigeons. What with Call of Duty going back to World War II. It definitely I do kind of think it needs Game Pass, but I'm not sure EA is going to do it. Eagles fans, do you guys think Hellblade 2 is going to be the showcase for Unreal Engine 5 since they're working with Epic? We're actually going to talk about Hellblade 2 because it is a topic. And Dovakin says, Bethesda with the new engine and Microsoft money is insta-hype. Okay, so Fonz, I got a topic specifically for you that I know you're super passionate about, right? So, from our discussion, after E3, Pete Hines did the rounds where he apologized to PlayStation owners for their games not showing up in the future, and you felt a very a certain way about this.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about Pete Hines apologizing to PlayStation fans?
I personally don't think he should have apologized at all for being bought out by Microsoft. I mean, it's something that they accepted, and in my opinion, you should never apologize for anything that, especially when you haven't done anything wrong. It makes no sense to me. I mean, the guy is simply, I think what got me more than saying sorry is when he said something to the fact that there's nothing I could do about it. And it's like, to me, that kind of sounds like, well, if there was something you could do about it, would you have done something different here? Like, I didn't like that answer. I think it was sort of like a pass the buck situation to Xbox, but also I don't kind of like it that I can't do anything about it. It didn't sound right to me. It could be misconstrued, and I just feel that there should have been no apology there. There should have been nothing there to kind of just allude to the fact that you don't like the situation. And I think some people could read it that way. I'm not saying I read it that way, but I'm just saying that it's not a good thing. Like, it just shouldn't have been done. Like, so you're with Xbox now. Your games are exclusive. So be it. There's going to be people out there that are upset, but you know what? Do what I do. Go buy an Xbox. Go buy a PlayStation. Go buy a Nintendo Switch. Buy everything just so that you have everything, ready to go to play these games. Follow the games. Like, that's what this hobby is about anyway, is the games. That's what people preach all the time, especially the majority of the people complaining are those that preach, I go where their games are at. And the games are usually over here. Well, guess what? They're not all over there anymore. You're going to have to buy an Xbox or PC, play it on your PC, or xCloud. One day you're going to be able to play it on xCloud and you don't even need the box. But the fact remains at the end of the day that Bethesda is now with Xbox, and going forward, their games are going to be exclusive. If you want to play a Bethesda game, that's just the way it is. Quit crying about it. And Pete, don't apologize for it anymore. It's not worth it.
It feels like it was taken out of context a little bit. I don't know if you guys watched the actual interview.
Yeah, I did. And I didn't like that. That's where he said that at the end, like, oh, there's nothing I could do about it. And I didn't like that. He should not have ended that way. It just doesn't. That's not a good look.
He was just asked point blank a weird business question, and his apology was more just empathizing with PlayStation fans as someone who might only have one console. Let's say you only have a PlayStation. His conversation to me was like, hey, I get it. I get that That means you're going to have to find somewhere else to play it. And for that, I apologize. But the way that people spun it was that he feels bad. He wishes this wasn't the case. He wishes he could bring Starfield to PlayStation, which is how people took it. And I definitely don't think that's the case. He apologized, and the way that I apologize to people who complain that Sea of Thieves has PvP. I go, okay, tell me your issues. Okay, you don't want PvP. Okay. Thank you for your thoughts. I'm sorry you feel that way, but that's not the reality, and we're not changing.
I think, and Pete spoke about this on Twitter too, right? He responded to people saying, I wasn't apologizing for exclusivity, and I don't have to do anything. I've got it right here. He said some of our fans are upset and angry, and I'm sorry that they are. I think what you said, Miles, is right. It's empathy. He was empathizing with the situation, and I think a bigger deal is being made out of this than it needs to be, essentially. But I mean, if you're, he's also has a responsibility, guys. He's an executive vice president of a major corporation, and he's customer facing. There's responsibility that comes with that. And the last thing you want to do, right, is come out and say even something a little bit here, which is going to really throw a percentage of what used to be your user base into the into a spiral of, yeah, he just doesn't give a shit at all. You don't want that. I think he was just trying to be empathetic and trying to find the best way to acknowledge it. And I think it was taken a little out of context.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue I have with it is the fact that I don't think he should have said any of that at all, because you're not going to convince these guys that are mad and throwing shade at you anyway for not putting your game on their favorite piece of plastic. You're not going to change their mind at all with an apology anyway, or empathizing or anything. It's not going to work anyway. So why even go there? It's just, again, not saying I took it that way, that what he said at the end of it was, negative, but some people will. And that's why you need to watch exactly what you say. And these guys, I mean, being execs and stuff, they usually are better at that. I was just surprised by it is all, really.
No, yeah. I like the empathy that he showed in it, because it always goes back, like, especially being a person that's in sales and being in retail and stuff. It's like you're always taught to listen to what the issue is, and be and have empathy for what they're going through. Even if you can't do anything about it, it's like, I'm sorry that this is something that happened, or it's just more of a cordial way of having a conversation, because people are going to have the perception that they're going to have no matter what. It's like you wanted to give them the greatest interaction you possibly could ever give it, but then they can leave your house that day or leave a place of business that you were at and just have a completely different outlook on what the actual transaction of that conversation was like. So I always say lean in on the type of person that you are. And I think that was kind of what he was answering that question as. He was, he's answering like if it was him. If it was me that had a PlayStation 5 and that's the only platform that I own, this sucks. But then like he said, there's nothing I can do about that for that platform anymore. And the harsh reality of that is there are still avenues for people to get that content on other places, and we talk about this multiple times on podcasts. We talk about it here. We talk about it on Twitter. Just because you don't have an Xbox or just because you don't have a PC doesn't mean that's not an option for you at a later date. And I think that is basically leading, that conversation leads to another olive branch saying, like, these games are still available to you. They're just not available on the one platform that you own right now. And I think he wanted to lean into that the most.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same as Forte and Ains and Miles. Like, I think he's just he was just like, they've built a relationship with PlayStation users over the course of time, and some people are going to be upset that they can't play Bethesda games, and he's basically empathizing with them, being like, yeah, it sucks that we can't put our games on PlayStation anymore, and I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry that you feel a certain way. I know some people, there's always like some people, that's why I wanted to bring it up, Fonz, because I knew you had a different take than everybody else. But I don't think...
I really don't even like the fact that he brought it up, that the media, the journalist brought it up anyway when he questioned him,
Right.
Like, it's really a weird question to
Well,
ask.
I don't think it's.
Well, you know how that conversation is going to go, though. The people in media, they ask you that question because they know if you answer it, it's not going to be the easiest question to answer.
Yeah, and
so
you can use.
They do it on purpose to do that.
You can use the headlines, but like when Ninja Theory was bought out by Microsoft, they made a lot of games for PlayStation, and like they apologized in their video, being like, "Hey, if you supported us on PlayStation, we're sorry, but this is kind of the way it is. If you want to play our games moving forward, these are the platforms you have to play it on." So it's just Pete empathizing with people because I know a lot of people get like caught up in the console war stuff, but there's plenty of people who watch that show who have no idea that Bethesda was purchased by Xbox, who game on PlayStation, and they don't follow stuff on YouTube or Twitter, and they're like, man, I didn't know this is happening, and I don't have an Xbox right now. That sucks. I really want to play Starfield, and like that really is upsetting. And I think, Pete was just like, I'm sorry, you feel that way. He wasn't apologizing for the exclusivity because there's nothing he could do there. It's just he's just being a good, like Forte said, a good PR person. What you would say to a customer coming in and being all upset, being like, I'm sorry, but here's our products on this platform. So, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the extended show. Paris hosted the extended show, friend of the channel. I talked to him quite a bit. He is an awesome dude, and I don't know, man. Like, I think everybody's gonna realize just how really good he is at presenting that stuff. I suspect he was gonna be having more jobs like this, in the future, because he absolutely killed it. So he did a great job. What was your guys' biggest takeaway from the extended showing? I guess maybe the question I should ask, do you like Xbox doing it this way, where they have this showing a few days beforehand where it's wall after wall of games, one right after the other, 30 games in an hour and a half, and then a few days later have more of a dev direct where the developers can talk about it? Do you like this setup that they're going with, and would you like Xbox to continue doing that in the future? And Miles, you give me a good answer here, buddy.
Yeah, so I actually love this format because you have the casual camp that just wants the game trailers. They want the Nintendo Direct, super easy to digest. Here's a game, here's a game, here's a game. That's easy to take in. It's easy to pick out the stuff you're excited about. And from there, the genius of this format is that the stuff you do want extra details on, they're going to give you another show a couple days later, and they're going to break down. If you want more details on Flight Sim, you want more details on Psychonauts 2. Like, I was excited about Psychonauts 2. Watching that 7 minutes at the Game Showcase Extended got me way more excited about Psychonauts 2. Like, seeing more of it in action. So I understand that that's not for everyone, like that deep dive format. And as we saw with, the Koch Media, their 2-hour gauntlet of some quick trailers, some 15-minute interviews interwoven. Not everybody's there for that, and it kind of kills the pacing. But I love the extended showcase. Shout out to Paris. It was awesome seeing that dude on the stage, absolutely killing it. It felt really good to see someone who's been in the community, been this amazing voice, to be on stage presenting this, and I want to see more of that. It was pretty much kind of like inside Xbox, but I think this is a better format for that.
100%. Ains, you got anything that really stands out from the extended showcase? Do you like the way Xbox is doing this? Would you like to see Paris host a monthly Inside Xbox? What are your thoughts about all this?
I'm nearly, honestly, right in line with Miles. I thought it was fantastic. It is the way to do it. You have your big E3 conference where all the eyes on the world are on you, and we already talked about that show, right, and how well it was designed. Then you come back just a couple days later, let everything kind of settle a little bit, and then you just, have these kind of like deeper dives onto all these games that people know about now. And if you want to take it in and sit there and kind of look into Psychonauts or Flight Sim or any of the games that are coming, you can, but it's not this big thing that, the whole globe has to be looking at. I loved it, especially as someone who loves getting into the details of games, obviously has to cover them, right? It was perfect for me. And yeah, shout out to Paris. Really, really cool to see someone in the community get an opportunity like that. And I am all about Xbox continuing to do things in this format. I thought it was fantastic.
Fonz, any takeaways from the showcase? Extended?
First of all, I do want to say, Paris, great job. I think his hosting skills are really just really good. Listening to him from Gamertag Radio for years, it's just it's crazy to see him up on that stage. But at the same time, he did a great job. I like this format. I like the dive with developers and stuff, and going in depth on some things and their games and stuff. That's cool. As Miles said, it's good to have a different show for this, because some people can tune out. They don't have to tune in, to this show. They could just watch that games show. But you have this for the developers to really sit down and talk and interact and discuss their games. And that is something that is also needed in the industry. So, yeah, I like the format. I like what they had to show, what little bits we did get to see of Hellblade 2 anyway. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about that. But, yeah, I do like this going forward. I hope they do more of this as well.
Forte?
Yeah, we're all in line on this. I said at the E3 showcase that Forza was the way that you show off an actual demo of your game when you want to have devs involved in the conversation and talking about the game and how features and stuff came together, showing it in real time as that conversation is unfolding right on the screen in front of you. And then contrast that to how they went more in depth in Halo when it came to everything at the extended show. And then how we got a peek at some of the stuff that's going on with Hellblade from behind the scenes. I feel like when you got devs sitting on a couch, this is the best format to do it, because it's not something that you expect to just see, like you said, game after game after game. You're tuning into this because you want to know more about these games. You want to know about the deeper dive and what's going on with the functions of this game. And plus, it gives people like us on this platform a chance to actually get more information on the stuff that we want to talk about in like our videos or in our articles and our websites and stuff like that. So it kind of extends the week of E3, because that's the one thing about E3, when it does end, it ends. It's like, man, it just happens so fast. And then Thursday came around and we just got another infusion of just excitement around Xbox, and I felt like this was the best way to do it. And I hope they keep doing this in the future and keep this type of energy going forward. And yeah, just like everybody else said, Paris killed it. I tuned in and was listening to it, and I was like, this is really good. I mean, he's a very good speaker already, but then just putting him on that stage, seeing him on the same stage that they did the presentations for E3 on, was pretty incredible. And I know that was like a once in a lifetime situation that he will always get a chance to do over and over again. So congratulations to you for that opportunity that you did have, and keep doing the good work.
Yeah. And looks like the best bot has finally arrived to the show. The one and only Kid Smooth is here. What's going on, buddy?
Oh man, I apologize. Hopefully I'm not botting. I apologize that I'm so late. It's just, today was crazy at work, but I'm happy to be here in some sort of capacity. So thanks for inviting me, Rand.
Yeah, and you do Planet Xbox. What is it? Is it Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesdays at...
Whoa.
What you just dropped, bro?
That wasn't me.
I think that was Fonz. Sounds like Fonz just broke something.
Fonz just broke his wife's favorite china.
Oh, shit.
Wow. Yeah, Planet Xbox every Wednesdays at like 8:33 p.m. Eastern.
Excellent. Right now we're talking about.
You know what? I put my headphones down to go to the bathroom. Maybe it hit the button.
Dude, it literally sounded like you dropped a vase and it just exploded.
Do you have
Was it this?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I put my headphones down. I'm sorry. It must have hit.
Yeah. Well, you didn't say anything, and we was like, "Yo, Fonz is trying to find something to clean it up before his wife found it."
No, that didn't happen. All right.
Smooth, I know you've been holding it down on Twitter and on YouTube, being the best bot and everything for years. How did you feel about Xbox's E3 this year? Do you think it was their best ever? Are you excited for the future of Xbox? Even more so than you previously have been. Like, how are you feeling today?
Oh man, my heads are in the skies. You know what I mean? I'm happy for Xbox. Do I think it was their best show ever? Absolutely not. No.
Ooh,
There's
interesting.
been shows that I've like thoroughly enjoyed it and that left me excited. So I don't think it was their best show because there was still some glaring flaws there that I was hoping that didn't show up. But what they did was they did a good job. I mean, the way I looked at the show is like, okay, I enjoyed what they did, but I felt like they had it reversed. I felt like the show that we got this year was the show we should have gotten last year, and the show we got last year was the show we should have gotten this year, in terms of content wise, right? So, but no, it was an incredible. You know, Xbox has been consistently answering those. If we go back, the people be like Xbox haven't had. Now they're talking about the whole 600 days thing, right? But before, I don't know if you remember, Rand, it was Xbox hasn't announced a new IP in 5 years, and like I don't know how long ago that died, but that's obviously dead. You can't use that. So the whole games argument is done. The whole new IPs argument, you can't use that. They're gonna have to stop that whole 600 days thing fairly soon. And then when you factor in like the incredible cushion to make up for the lack of first party games up until like the bangers start coming at the end of the year, the stuff that's being added into Game Pass day one, that calendar is still has me like psyched, because I'm like, yo, like I'm not missing out on anything. But no, I do think it was a great show, and obviously it was good enough, and I apologize for the background. Obviously the show was incredible, because what did we see over the last 3 days? A lot of people having Xbox Series X's in their passenger seat. So a lot of people bought Xboxes, even those who, podcast and talk daily about how Xbox Series is not worth having right now. They made sure to get one. Why? Something happened, and I think this show was the reason why.
Awesome. I do have to catch up on the super chats, and then we're going to talk about Hellblade 2. Stick Figure says, Rand, have you played Chivalry 2? I have not, but Dealer and Colt have talked very highly about that game. They say it's a lot of fun. Sleping says, just wanted to add the Battlefield debate. I have no issue paying full price for multiplayer only. I love the online experience and will support DICE with my wallet. Smooth, I asked a rapid fire question to the panel earlier. Do you think Battlefield 2042 will launch day one on Game Pass? Yes or no?
I still believe it will.
So you're a yes. Okay. So we got Smooth as a yes here. Artemis says, with Breath of the Wild 2, God of War 2, and Starfield coming 2022, what chances do we think Starfield having a shot at being in the conversation for Game of the Year or winning? So let's do another rapid-fire question here. Fine, Starfield, Game of the Year contender next year, yes or no?
Yes.
Forte, Starfield, Game of the Year contender?
Yes, it better be.
Smooth?
Absolutely. I don't know what last Todd Howard game didn't get nominated.
That's true. Miles, you predicting a Game of the Year nominee for Starfield next year?
Yeah, I could see it.
Ains, are you going to be the holdout here, or are you going to agree with everybody?
No, I'm full agreement. It should be. Yep.
Okay, so Xbox might have their Game of the Year winner next year potentially. PVT Ghost says Xbox looked to Sony this gen and said Hulk smash. Scott McGee says, what do you guys think of the E3 extended show yesterday? I thought it was a great follow-up format to the main show, and Paris was a masterful host. Yeah, we all agreed that it was a good addition, and Paris is going to be on to bigger and better things, because he showed the world that he's a really good host. Seed Trigger said, did Capcom apologize to Xbox users when Street Fighter became a PlayStation exclusive? I don't think they did. Robert says, it was damned if you do, damned if you don't question, and it was unfair to ask. Eric says, guaranteed days leading up to Starfield's release next year, the gaming media is going to ask Bethesda one last time if it's coming to PlayStation. Eagles fan says, wondering when we'll see games take advantage of DirectML or AMD Super Resolution. Hope to see next year, maybe use with Starfield with all the dev time. Stephen Boxey says, Microsoft could be evil and not update Doom on PS5. Well, they're going to update Doom. I mean, They're not going to do that. Steven says, Major Nelson has Paris on his dartboard. And Boogeyman says, love Greeny's response to the apology on Twitter. I'm not sorry. Lol, I laughed so hard. So one of the things I see a lot of people talking about coming out from the extended showcase was Hellblade 2. They showed another behind-the-scenes trailer for Hellblade 2 where they talked about how they're still in pre-production and they're about to go into production. They showed a little bit of it. Ains, what'd you think of the behind-the-scenes stuff for Hellblade 2? Did that whet your appetite for the game? I know it was the first Series X exclusive announced back in 2019. Sounds like the game's a couple years away. Are you okay waiting that long if Hellblade 2 is going to be hopefully as good as it seems it's going to be?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a huge Hellblade 1 fan. Played the hell out of the game. Played it both when it was on PlayStation timed exclusive, platinumed it, and then played it on Xbox as well. And I think, some people may forget that Hellblade, the original, is it's developed by a small team, right? And Ninja Theory, looking at Hellblade 2, is very clearly taking advantage of, more resources, more technology to really kind of capture that vision that they have for that world, that universe in Senua. And that just excites the hell out of me. Honestly, I'm not one of those guys that really gets impatient waiting for games. I'd rather the developer take their time and just, if they can fully create their vision, just deliver it whenever it's ready. It's not like we're starving for games. There's plenty to play. So I'm happy to wait for whenever this game releases. Love that they're doing Unreal Engine 5 for it. Love that they're working with Epic Games on some of the new kind of human technology that we've seen from Epic Engine, and I just think it's going to be incredible. Don't forget, Ninja Theory's got that new mocap studio. Man, I think this is going to be a showcase title for sure, and I think that it is going to demonstrate between Hellblade 1 and Hellblade 2 the difference that support, timing, and funding can make for a talented group of individuals. And what we should see out of other games and studios under the new Xbox Game Studios banner, show the difference of what that can make in a game. It should be very, very impressive.
Right, Miles, what do you think? What do you think about the Hellblade 2 behind the scenes stuff?
I'm gonna tell you, Rand, that did a little something for me.
Did it? Oh.
I was expecting some kind of deep dive because they said that Ninja Theory was going to be there. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe we'll get something similar to what we saw at the game showcase, where it's them behind the scenes taking photographs of scenery. But we got some kind of 3D models. We got some concepts. The energy of the edits was really exciting. So even though it was this behind the scenes look, there was a lot of energy behind it. And I'm sorry, but the original Hellblade reveal trailer, the Hellblade 2, I have watched that so many times. No exaggeration, more times than I've ever watched any trailer. They have me hooked. I am ready to play it. I want to get my hands on it. I understand that it's years away, and I want this game to come out and just crush. I want the world to look at Ninja Theory, look at Xbox Game Studios, and say, Hellblade 2 is the future of Xbox. The narrative that Xbox puts out okay games, or that Xbox puts out good but not great games. I want Senua's Saga to destroy that narrative. I want the world to see Ninja Theory in a light that they've never seen before. And I really would just want to play it, to be honest.
I think everybody wants to play it. Fonz, what are you expecting from Hellblade 2?
Hopefully better gameplay. And I say that because Hellblade 2 was a looker. It was beautiful, gorgeous. One of the best looking games last gen, I would say. But I did not care for the combat. I did not care for the puzzles. I hope that they have better gameplay in this game. Hopefully they change things up. We know it's going to be stunning looking. I mean, we've already seen some teasers, and if that's really part of the the in-engine look, it's amazing. But yeah, for me, it's it comes down to the gameplay. So I hope they have a better combat system in it.
You just want the game to be better from the first one, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I couldn't finish the first one because the
first one is very indie. I mean, I know it gets the terminology walking simulator thrown out a lot. So I
That's why
understand that. I understand.
Yeah, when
if you
people
didn't-
say that, yeah.
if
go
you
ahead.
didn't jive with the puzzles or you didn't like the combat, and you didn't think the story was very good, I can understand that. So you basically want to see them make a game that they couldn't have made without Microsoft's money. Like, you want them to make a game that's like, you sit
Yeah.
there and you're like, okay, that's what being under Xbox Game Studios can do for you, right? You want like
I want the gameplay to match the visuals. You know, I want it to be excellent on both accounts. It wasn't last time, in my opinion. So I just want to see him grow. I want to see this franchise grow. I know Ninja Theory can do much better than this, or what they did with the first one. Yeah, it's that gameplay for me, man. It just, I want to see better gameplay.
Okay. Forte, what do you think about the Hellblade 2 stuff? You psyched?
Oh yeah, I love the first Hellblade. I love the story. Combat could have been a lot better, but overall, I just like the overall progression of the game. You know, going through basically the trials and tribulations of Senua in her head, overcoming the adversity that she was coming through when it was playing that game, really touched me a lot. When it made me really enjoy that game a lot. The biggest thing that I want from the next one is just bigger. You know, it needs to be something that showcases the power of the next generation console. They showed it off for the first time with the Series X. They need to make sure that game stands the test of time when it comes to when that game comes out. That you need to believe that this game was only possible because they have the backing of Microsoft, the funding to actually make it happen, and they have one of the most powerful consoles out there in the world in the Xbox. They actually make this game a reality. And then I'm 100% in. You know, sometimes bigger is not always better. I just wanted to be more of a focus on that game than it was on the first one. And I think overall, that's something that we're definitely going to get with the game. Hopefully, the little deep dive that they did show us, as little as it was, I saw a lot of really good things in there, from, you know, the unarmed combat that they were practicing in mocap, to just the scale that they look like they're trying to go for the game in general. And I think a lot of people are going to be looking forward to this game, but I don't really think a lot of people understand how big this game is probably going to end up being. And that's all I kind of want. I just want this game to be everything it can be, because Microsoft put the money behind them, and Ninja Theory literally just went out there and just seized the opportunity like a lot of gamers want them to do.
Right. Kid Smooth, how you feeling about Hellblade? Because I believe you were out there when it was exclusive to PlayStation. Weren't you out there not a fan of it? Or am I thinking my recollection not that good about the your original thoughts about Hellblade 1 back in 2017?
My original thoughts, it wasn't when it was a PlayStation exclusive. It was when I played it on Xbox. I thought visually it was a good looking game. I was a fan of the combat and the inconsistency of it. It was like, I want to swing at every time. I want to fight. I didn't like that the combat was scripted, right? So it was like, okay, the game tells me when I can draw my sword and when we'll start fighting and stuff like that. The game Hellblade 1 had a very different focus back then, as if it was really sort of trying to obviously hone in the whole psychosis thing and, you know, be more of a lesson and whatnot. They kind of had like sort of an indie vibe. Now with this game, I think what they're doing, and based off what they're saying, they're going to treat it honestly like a reboot. So it's not going to be this indie puzzle game. They said brutal combat, so I'm expecting the game to be an actual difficult game, like in the veins of like a Souls type game. Not to say it's going to be like a Souls type game, but in terms of, I think that's what they're going to be aiming for in terms of difficulty. But yeah, like I eventually finished the game and whatnot. Thought it looked good. I just wasn't a fan of my version of Hellblade is what I hope they're making, and that's just something that can like challenge like God of War or something like that, you know, especially at those visuals. So I'm expecting an action adventure game, in my opinion. That's what I'm expecting for the next game.
Okay. You see, my
Heavenly. Heavenly Sword was their game back in the day during the PlayStation 3 days. That I loved that game. That game was awesome, and that was kind of like a female version of God of War. Kratos. Just seemed like that type of game anyway. But they can build upon this combat system. They can get it better. Maybe they just needed more time and money. Who knows?
Well, yeah, the original game was built on like a $10 million budget, and you can definitely see it. Like the combat wasn't very deep, the levels weren't very intricate, the puzzles weren't very like in depth, and it definitely did seem like an indie game on steroids. So for me, like I want to see kind of like with Psychonauts 2, with what we're hearing from Tim Schafer, is that when they got purchased, like they were able to go back and add in things that they cut from the original release because it wasn't possible, and they were given all this time to polish the game and make it better. So that's what I want from Hellblade 2. Is I want to turn that game on, start playing it, and just be completely wowed and think to myself, okay, this couldn't have been done without Microsoft. This is what I want to expect from all their studios, like In Exile, Obsidian, right? Where it's like, yeah, Grounded's cool for the people that love it, but that was in production before Microsoft bought them. Same thing with Outer Worlds, where like I'm sit there and I'm like, okay, man, like imagine what Outer Worlds 2 is going to be like with a bigger budget and scope than what Private Division has given them. That's kind of what I want for Hellblade 2, where you play it and the combat is deep like Devil May Cry, and the world, and it's not just like you're just walking in a straight line to solve a puzzle, and then you hear some like I want a true like as Jez would say, a true like honest to God AAA like action adventure, and not just as Jez would say, like an indie walking simulator. Like I want to see that money on screen. You know what I mean? So
I'm with you.
Yeah, Artemis says, go ahead, Miles. Go ahead.
I'll say that's been the promise of Xbox and Xbox Game Studios with everything that they've been doing, is that what they're doing and how they're investing into these teams is going to ensure that the games that they put out will be better than anything they've ever put out before. And that's something that I really want to believe, because when you get talented and creative people like Tim Schafer on board, who have great ideas, but have constantly talked about the struggles of being able to financially make a studio work, when you can't do certain ideas because realistically, if you're independent and that idea does not hit, people are getting fired. People are losing their jobs. You're shutting your studio down. So there's a lot of ideas that they probably have and wanted to do that they just didn't have the financial freedom to do. So again, I always joke about drinking the Xbox Kool-Aid and Xbox Game Studios and Xbox Game Pass, but I want to see the proof of concept and the proof of the promises Xbox has sold us on Xbox Game Studios.
Yeah, 100%. Steven asked us what will be nominated for this year for Game of the Year. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what the rest of the games they put out at the end of the year. All right, I'll ask a rapid-fire question. Here we go. Halo Infinite, nominated for Game of the Year at the Keeleys. Fonz, yes or no?
No.
Oh, no. All right. Forte, Halo Infinite Game of the Year? No. 2 no's in a row. All right. Smooth? Halo Infinite?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that's what I like.
Absolutely.
Miles, Halo Infinite Game of the Year?
Okay. No, but only because it's probably going to come out past the window where they're considered.
Yeah, that is true. There is that like cutoff date, and they're definitely.
That wasn't my reasoning. My reasoning is because of all the PlayStation games that'll be nominated next year.
I mean, this year though, Fonz, not next year.
Well, this year. Oh, this year.
Well,
yeah,
assuming
right.
it meets the cutoff
this year.
for this year.
Yeah, and it won't. But assuming no, it won't.
Okay, so you still don't think it would. Ains, what do you think? Halo Infinite Game of the Year nominated?
I think it does if the narrative hits properly.
Interesting. And since we're doing rapid fire, when do you think it's going to release, Fonz? We know they've been a little cagey. They just say holiday 2021. If you had to pick a date or a month, like when do you think Halo Infinite's coming out?
I'm going to say November, sometime mid-November.
Sometime mid-November. Forte?
They want to release it in September, but it ain't going to come until late October.
All right. Smooth, what do you got? Release date for Halo?
October 7th, October 8th.
Ooh, okay, so we're going with October. Interesting. I haven't heard anybody say October. Miles?
That's early.
I am expecting that they are waiting to see where Call of Duty launches, as weird as that might sound. And I'm almost expecting December, based on the fact that they are promising us one really big Game Pass release every single month. To me, as perfect as it would be to release it on the 15th, the 20-year anniversary, that's less than a week from Forza, which is, as we've seen, that is a big game for them. They're pushing that game hard, so it makes no sense to have that drop a few days later. But I think Call of Duty, surprisingly, is going to be the wild card that dictates when Halo releases.
It's definitely possible. Ains, what's your prediction here for the release date?
Yeah, again, I'm kind of right in line with Miles. I think it's either last week of November, first week of December.
Yeah, I've been on the conspiracy train that it's September, and they just don't want to say it yet. But I was on this great podcast last night, DPS, with a couple cool hosts, Forte and Slow-Mo, and the one and only Jeff Grubster. And Jeff Grubb made a convincing argument that it's probably aiming for end of November, and if they have to delay it, December, which does make some sense to me. We have Paris in the chat, who says November 15th, 2021. That is the 20th anniversary of the original Halo release. And I would agree with you, Paris, except I'm not sure they want to release Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite a week apart. That doesn't make the most sense in the world to me when you're running a gaming subscription service. Do you guys feel the same? Do you feel
Why
it would
not?
be...
If they were the same, I mean, I get it. Cause I'm more with you. I think they kind of want to separate them just because of that, and I do think the Call of Duty thing is a big piece of that, especially with the multiplayer being free. I think you just want to get as many people into that funnel as you can before that game does drop, and you want to have people make a decision like, hey, I want to stick with Halo because Halo's super fun and I love the progression that I have in it. But that only works if they get the game out way earlier than Call of Duty comes out. But then Forza, I can still see it releasing at the same time just because it's a completely different game. It's not a shooter. It's a sports game, but it's not like the NBAs or the 2Ks or the Maddens or anything. It's literally the best racing game out there.
Racer,
and people that want to play that racing game are going to play it no matter when it releases. And I don't think Halo's going to stop people from either playing Forza, or Forza's not going to stop people from playing Halo. I think they don't cross each other, honestly.
Right.
Yep, I agree.
And I guess... Okay, I know we all given our predictions on the release date. Do you guys still think there's a chance it gets delayed to 2022?
Jesus.
No.
I'm just saying, they say holiday, that gives them room to push it to next year if there's something goes wrong. I'm just saying.
Is there a chance? Yes. I don't think they'll do it. Regardless of, unfortunately, where the game's at. Because we're in full marketing ramp up at this point. We're getting the deep dives of multiplayer. We're talking about everything that's going to be included in the package. They gave us the holiday window because I think they are hard at work trying to get this across the finish line, and maybe they aren't totally sure what that day is going to be. But I really don't see it delayed beyond this year.
I think that's why we got the single player flyover, where they really didn't do any detail because they don't. Jeff Grubb said it might have been. I think it was Jeff Grubb that said this yesterday on the show. He just feels like that's why that flyover happened, because they really don't want to do a deep dive into that single player, because that single player just isn't ready to the point where they're like, say, we're going to put the camera right up in his face and say, this is the single player. But they did marry themselves to multiplayer and single player launching together. I want this game to be everything it needs to be. I was shocked that they said it was still coming out this year, because I felt like the problem with the game was nothing to do with anything multiplayer-wise. It was everything to do with story-wise, and they did a lot of things to try to bolster that story side by bringing people into the studio, making sure that all that stuff, all those T's and I's were dotted and everything. So I think they want to get that thing out this year, but let's be for real. Halo cannot launch, and that single player cannot launch in a bad state whatsoever. If it comes down to picking this holiday versus January or February of next year, and I know people don't want to hear that, I think Halo means way too much to them to actually put it out to pasture like that and release a game that doesn't live up to the expectations that people want, because they already did it once by showing it. So as much as it would hurt to say delay this game until next year until it's absolutely ready to come out, I don't know. That whole 2021 thing, it kind of bugs me, because right now we're 5 months away from the holiday, and you would think that would be, hammered in, unless they, like you said, the only other thing I can think of is the Call of Duty. Is the Call of Duty thing. Do they want to release right next to Call of Duty? And we have, on good authority from multiple years of doing this, that most games try to avoid that game like the plague, no matter what. Especially now that they got a free-to-play option that people play more than they play of the base game. So it's a lot of different conversations happening around that. I do not envy Xbox for the decision they have to make when it comes to this game. Halo is a stoic brand, but it does have a lot to live up to when it comes to getting back the mind share that they kind of lost throughout this generation. And I know they want Halo Infinite to bring people back, but they will not do that if this game isn't 100% ready when it releases this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's coming out this year for sure. I'm just kind of like, oh, what's the release date? Because it's going to be important. I think.
Yeah.
That's why I think they go late with it, right? They give the team as much time as they need. I mean, some of the multiplayer leads are already playing it. They're talking about playing it on a nightly basis, like over Xbox Live, not like anything crazy. I know, right?
I want to play. I signed up. Did all you guys sign up to the
I've been
Insider, so you can get.
I signed up for the flight. Absolutely.
Let's go.
But even like Quinn Del Hoyo on the extended show yesterday, he even said like, we can't wait for you to see what we have for you later. They just all the develop. I follow Halo super closely, and a lot of them have said we can't wait for you to get your hands on it later this year. I think it's just coming late in the year. That's what I thought.
I agree.
I did a poll, and I asked, when is Halo Infinite releasing? So I asked the chat, and November 36%, December 36%.
That's a
so it's
deadlock.
tied, and then 15% say September, and 13% say October. So it seems to be November is December is the.
What do you think is the best date? Is the question. If the game is ready, what do you think is the best window to release that game in?
I mean,
The
anniversary. Clearly.
Yeah, I think the anniversary for sure. It just does seem weird. I get your guys' point around they're different games. It's Game Pass. You're not going to stop people from playing Forza and Halo. I get all that. It just does feel weird to have two AAA releases the same week.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
I didn't expect Forza Horizon 5 to launch so late in the year. So when I saw November 9th, I was just like,
that usually releases in September
or early October. So yeah, I was just kind of like, I don't know if they're going to release Halo a week after, because you can make the argument that after Halo Infinite, after Minecraft and Halo Infinite, that Forza Horizon is their biggest franchise, right? And it's like, do you release essentially your first and second two biggest franchises a week apart from one another? I don't know, but does Game Pass change it where it doesn't really matter? I'm not sure.
I want to bring up something really quick about Forza Horizon 5, because some people were bringing it up to me and saying, well, what they showed was rain on a computer. It wasn't the Series X.
People were saying that?
Yeah,
they were.
It's been brought up to me, yeah. And here's the thing, though. I believe that they've showed the other Forza Horizon games the same way as well. And when they drop on the respective console, it always looks incredible. So I don't know what people are tripping off of anyway, because the game looked flat out amazing, and it's going to look just as amazing on your Series X. Don't worry.
That was also another surprise from the conference, the Forza Horizon 5, that it won most anticipated game from E3, and that
see
really
how that thing looked.
I mean,
know.
it looks incredible. There was moments there where it was like it looks like a picture of Mexico in the car.
Yep. Video,
and then people were upset that it doesn't have ray tracing in the game, but it only has ray tracing in Forza Vista. But it's like, did you see how the game looked?
Okay, so people are accusing me of saying that, nobody was asking me that or saying that. No, people were saying that, man. I don't understand why I would have to lie about that. But yeah, I've been asked that several times about that. I've got DMs. I could show you receipts, man.
Ooh, the receipts.
The
I'll say
receipts.
based on Windows Central's traffic, that Forza Horizon surprisingly was one of the biggest spikes that we saw following the showcase. So of everything, of Starfield, of Halo, of all these new IPs, of stuff like Elden Ring, Forza had a humongous spike. People are excited. The average person is excited about Forza Horizon 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's a great game. It's easy to access, right? It's accessible. You jump in with friends. It's beautiful. It's a showcase title for your new hardware. It's kind of everything. It's got everything going for it. And then you add Game Pass on top of that. Yeah, I mean, why not, right? They're just fun games.
Yo,
So,
Graham,
it's
what
not
platforms does Forza Horizon release on?
Forza Horizon 5 releases on Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S,
And what
PC,
else?
and then it'll be obviously on mobile through Xbox Game Streaming.
So the question is, why does everybody care what I understand wanting to see it on the platform that you want to play it on. I understand that, but
I get it.
I understand that 100%, but trying to say that downplay the graphical look of the game just because it was showing on a high-end PC. But guess what? Those people playing on a high-end PC, they gonna love every bit of that game. I don't care because look, that game looks great no matter where you played it. I know people that played 4 on a Xbox One S, and guess what? 1080p. I don't know if it was running. I think it was 30 frames per second. Looks amazing still. So I never get the fact that people want to downplay the fact of where the game's being shown at. Just be happy that you're seeing games that you're actually interested in.
Yeah.
Well, we all remember the Ubisoft situation. I mean, when they were showing games on the PC, and yeah.
That was a game that didn't release, remember?
Yeah,
It
not the
released.
same game
It
anyway.
released, but it didn't release.
Yeah.
I got a couple super chats here I got to catch up with. Dave A says Hellblade 2 is so far off because of Unreal Engine 5 just barely released and is being built as a AAA game. Thoughts? I mean, yeah, Unreal Engine 5 being delayed obviously pushes it back, but I think COVID. People downplay COVID, but COVID's and that's a studio that relies heavily on motion capture, and that was really impacted. So that's part of the reasons why they're still in pre-production, and the game's probably a couple years away. It just kind of we'll be experiencing the effects of COVID on the video game industry for a while. It'll be a couple more years before things get back to normal with release dates and stuff. Adam says Ninja Theory made DMC. They know how to do melee combat. Trust me, I agree. Ballin' Harder says the overhead kick Senya did hints at some form of unarmed combat, and if you listen closely, it seems as to be open world-ish. Can't wait. And Chinook Guy says the one thing I hope from Hellblade 2 is to not have weird gray-looking enemies. Everyone does this, and it needs to stop. Artemis says, what is the panel's Design Labs perfect Xbox controller color? So I was going to ask you guys this. Design Labs is back. People have been asking for it with the new controller. Are you guys interested in making a perfect controller for yourself from Design Labs? Ains, what, you gonna delve in and make one? Oh, you already got one. Okay, so what'd you go with? Anything specific?
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it, right? It's just it's kind of like that ash gray color. I got the clear buttons.
Does it say Season Gaming on the bottom, or does it say?
It does say Season Gaming on it. It does. It's got the blue kind of green thumbsticks and triggers, and it's kind of the gray blue theme essentially. But yeah, man, I already posted a pic of it on the feed, and I ordered it yesterday.
Excellent.
Man, the Josh Muncy, the Xbox marketing guy, commented on it and loved it. I was like, yeah, it's cool for this to be back, man.
I made two of them that I ordered. One is inspired by the Xbox Series X. It's black, but everything else on it is pretty much green, but the proper green, not that other green that they released, but the proper green. So it's a green back, green triggers, the colored buttons, green thumbsticks, and it's just the pair what how the Xbox Series X being black, but then that green accent at the top. It was made to sort of kind of reflect that. And then I made a reverse one being a green controller, but then the back being black, the black triggers, and still the colorful buttons. I'm gonna tweet it once I get a better image of it. But I had it in my cart last night, and I hit check out this morning because I had to sleep on it. So
Yeah. Kid, are you sitting inside of your PS5? I hear the coil whine.
that is the AC of my car. I'm about to hit mute, and then I'm going to transport to my computer.
All right. Get out of that PS5, man.
Forte, did you make a new controller from the Design Labs?
I want to, but every time I look at the design lab, I'm always haunted by the fact that I can't make an Elite controller. I'm always haunted by that because I own all the new controllers for Xbox, like the newer ones that just came out, but I literally have them sitting I have them in a case on their own little stands because I just like collecting controllers, but I never play with any of those because I just can't take my Elite Series 2 out of my hand. I have 3 of those things. I have one for my Xbox, I got one for my S, and I got one for my PC. And it's just the fact that no other controller feels good to play with other than that controller for me. So when I saw they were bringing this back, I was like, oh, please tell me this is the iteration you bring in customization to Elite controllers. And it's not. And I kind of understand why, because it does have a completely different feel to the texture on the controller, which would be a lot harder and probably a little bit more expensive for you to customize. But man, me personally, there's people that would love to go out there and spend $50 or $60 extra to customize their Elite Series 2 controller. So I may end up still doing it because I do have one from the original from Xbox One when they were doing it. I have a green and yellow one with Gaming Forte written on it. But I just couldn't bring myself to do it to this one because ultimately I want them to do the newer series controllers with the Elite ones. And if they ever do it, I'll do it then.
Miles, are you getting a Windows Central?
A little Windows Central,
a little
game
Central one, like
controller?
little pink, black.
Oh yeah. I did dabble with trying to make like a Xbox Chatterdays color scheme. I'm with Forte though. I would be the clown spending upwards of $200 if they gave us a Design Labs Elite 3 controller. Ooh, but I do have to say, seeing Design Labs come back was so cool, and it's way more expansive than it used to be with the colors and the options. So, as you guys have probably seen on Twitter, there's so many cool designs. That Aphid grounded controller that they made,
Yeah,
so beautiful.
Yeah, Fonz, I take it you would love to get a Elite Series 2 and the Design Lab, essentially.
Sir, you're talking to a man that runs their controller that comes packing with the system into the ground before I get another controller. So yeah, I'm cheap that way. I don't buy these extra controllers if I don't need to. The one that it comes with is just fine, and the Elite, as sexy as it is, and all the stuff that it can do, I would love to have one, but not at that price point.
Understandable. Let's see. Okay, so Everwild, okay? Some news came out after E3. We knew it wasn't going to be there, and then it was announced that it's being rebooted, or at least VGC basically said it's being rebooted, and it sounds like it was sort of confirmed by Rare to a certain degree. Do you think this is the right move, and when do you think we can expect Everwild, Forte?
2013.
2013. We're going back in time traveling?
Yeah, we're going back in the past, everybody. 2023. And that's late 2023. The fact that they didn't even know what this game was when they announced it the first time, and we still didn't know what the game was at the beginning of this year, let me know that there's more to MCI with this game than them just not knowing that. They literally went back to the drawing board to redo everything in this game. Hopefully for the better. I really liked it. I liked what I saw. I liked the graphics. I love the aesthetic of the game, but I definitely want you to actually know what your game is about when you are going to announce it for the first time, especially if you're going to show characters on screen and everything. Like I said, I think Outer Worlds Obsidian did a great job with showing their game off, where they just showed you concepts of areas that you would see by making fun of it. But if you're actually going to show people characters on the screen, you kind of need to know what it's about. Yeah. So now that they're going back to the drawing board on it, 2023, most likely early 2024.
Well, okay, so I'm going to do a rapid fire question thing. Ains, I'm going to ask you first. Does Xbox have a problem showing games off too early?
Oh, man.
Because we got Everwild shown off in 2019. Now being rebooted.
Yeah,
we know what happened with Crackdown. Hellblade 2 doesn't seem like it's coming out for a bit. Like, do you think they're like Outer Worlds 2? They didn't even give a release date. Do you think there's an issue with Xbox announcing stuff too early, or is it fine because there's a whole bunch of other games that we know are coming, and it's, hey, just tell us what's coming, we'll be good, even if it's 3 to 4 years away?
Yeah, I think sometimes they do, and I think some of it stems from the fact that they've been fighting against the games conversation for so long now, right? For years now. So I look back at Everwild's reveal and I think, as Forte just said, right? We didn't even really know what the game was. The creative director they hired after that, like they didn't even have a creative director hired at that point. So I think what they were trying to do essentially is, kind of just show, look, we've got new IPs coming, we've got games coming, but it didn't really make sense at the time. I think they were trying to fight against the conversation.
Yeah. Fonz, do you think they have a issue with showing games too early, or are you okay with them showing games early? Are you fine with it?
I've never had an issue with these companies showing games early. I mean, PlayStation does it all the time, and I like it. I personally like it. So I get excited for games. If I was on board with like what I seen from Everwild, maybe I could have been disappointed knowing that they overhauled this game pretty much. But honestly, from what they showed, like it was almost as if like most people had this thought in their head when they watched what we saw of that game last year, and we were like, what's going on? Like, what is this game about? Like, why are they doing this or that? Shaking trees and meditating and all this stuff. Like, we didn't get it anyway. And I have a feeling most of the developers there didn't get it either. I don't know. But yeah, it doesn't bother me at all that they show games ahead. If things change, they change, whatever. But I get excited for games. So if they can show me something that's coming down the pipeline, even 3 years away, I'm happy with it.
Yeah. Miles, do you like just Xbox? Just doesn't matter. Show us a game that's 3 to 4 years away. Give us CGI. I just want to know what's coming. Or do you wish it was like, don't show me anything until it's a year before release? Because, there are those two schools of thought.
I'm a little torn because we've all had those really hype moments where you see a game you didn't even know was going to come out, and then they hit you with that release date, and it's like 7 months away, and there's so much energy. There's so much energy and excitement behind announcements like that. I'm personally in the camp that, if they want to like reveal a game and set a tone with some sort of CG trailer, I don't mind if it's years away, as long as they don't set some sort of expectation where I'm expecting it in a couple years. So if they give me a CG teaser 3-4 years out, I don't think that's an issue. Like a lot of people have said, a lot of companies do that with a lot of games. So I don't think this is an Xbox problem. You can say, this might be an industry problem. Maybe we shouldn't do this in general. I just think in the case of Everwild and what Rare's trying to do with that game, they want to make something completely new. The loop is the issue they're having with Everwild, is they want to make an experience unlike anything else you've played, but what exactly does that mean, and how exactly do we make this fun? So if you watch design documents for Rare with Sea of Thieves, that was the process there, is they had all these mechanics figured out, and they had all these systems in place, and then they had to figure out what the loop was. So that's probably where they're at now. I don't imagine they're throwing everything out. They're probably just sitting down and say, how do we make this kind of spiritual Mother Nature kind of energy aura game a game and actually make it fun? So I say, if you want to show me CG, go for it. But I do love those quick turnarounds.
Right. Just got to give a shout out to the almost 1,500 still watching the podcast over 2 hours into it. If you guys haven't hit the like button already, make sure you do so. We got 634 likes, but 1,500 watching. Make sure you hit that like button. It's super easy. And subscribe if you're new, and check out all these guys' content in the description below. Kid Smooth, what do you think about Everwild and it being rebooted, bro?
I said something about this on Twitter. If you have to reboot a passion project, just cancel it.
Ooh, so we're getting a spicy take from Kids Move.
that's
Okay,
spicy.
okay.
Yeah, because it's one thing if it's like a franchise, an existing franchise, but this was like a passion project, and if it comes to that, then it's like I feel like they caught lightning in the bottle with Sea of Thieves, and I felt like they already did that blank canvas type game, and with Pirates it was acceptable, it was fun. You can make that fun. I don't think every game that Rare does has to be this blank canvas game. And so that's my problem with Everwild. And the other thing I'm going to comment on is the whole Xbox showing, games, too early. Well, Xbox is damn if you do, damn if you don't. Because if they don't show it, then they have no games.
It's true.
Fair enough.
So my issue with like CGI and stuff, I think the only games that you could get away with showing CGI or who can get deservedly CGI reveals are existing IPs. A follow-up game to an existing IP. So we already know what to expect from, let's say they wanted to show like Gears 6 or something like that. I wouldn't mind it being a CGI because I know how Gears plays. I can use my imagination of how much better it's going to look. But like brand new IPs that is being introduced to us for the first time, I don't think CGI works unless that CGI does a damn good job explaining what exactly we're going to be doing in this game. So that's sort of my take on that. But Everwild, if you're going to reboot the whole damn development process, cancel the game. I'm sorry.
Damn. I didn't expect to hear that. Just cancel the game. Okay, it's a different take for sure. Well,
let me ask you something, Rand. Let me ask you
go
something
ahead.
about Everwild, because you're asking us questions about this game. From what we've seen, in the past of this game, did any of that get you excited for that game?
I don't know what the game is.
Right.
Exactly.
I don't know what it is. So
it never excited most of us, I would say.
Well,
so
it looked really interesting, like the art style it was going for, but I never really knew what the game was going to be. So it was always on my radar, but I was just like, I'm not sure. So yeah. I mean, look,
But that's my point. At the end of the day, what we've seen, it just
so
really hasn't wowed anybody. I
think Kids Move has an
wasn't very
interesting
good.
point here, because I think if this was Microsoft pre-2017, I think Everwild would have been canceled. I think the Coalition wouldn't have been given extra time to do a Gears 6, right? But because of all the additional studios now and everything in place, you can give the Coalition extra time to make a Gears 6 instead of always having it out every three years. You can spend the time to reboot Everwild and put like Greg on that game to make it something special, simply because you have the studios and the games coming. You no longer are pressed to release stuff. You know what I mean?
But I think Kid Smooth hit it on the head when he said that when you show a CGI trailer, you have to show basically what the game is about to some degree. Like if you look at Redfall, that's a prime example of that, showing that CGI trailer. We didn't get any gameplay, but we pretty much know what we're going to be doing, fighting vampires and using powers and that sort of thing. In that trailer that we saw, the CGI for Everwild, we didn't see anything. Like it really didn't give anybody anything to really hang on and think about, for the future of that game. That is the problem here with Everwild. So like I didn't. The only time I ever heard anybody speak on the game in a glowing light was Rare fans.
Well, yeah.
Rare fans saying, hey, this has a possibility to be great. It's Rare, that sort of thing. And then when you ask them, well, what's it about? What do you do? I don't know, but look, it looks interesting. I don't know. It just was nothing to hang on to.
Yeah, I will say I'm sort of in the opposite camp of Kid and Fawns here, especially if we're talking about, like Rand mentioned, the current Xbox. We really need to celebrate that these teams get to experiment and try new ideas, especially in an era where people are making the same games over and over. This entire generation, we could boil down to 4 genres, reskinned and regurgitated over and over. So, albeit, the first few teasers that we saw for Everwild, yeah, they didn't show us exactly what this was going to be, but they showed us that this team is making something new. They're making a new idea, and that we can't downplay that. Even if even if we don't understand what that might be, to say like, don't even give them a chance to make something new, because I can't imagine what that's going to be. Let them make another Assassin's Creed. We know what that is. Let's make another open world, rinse and repeat game, because I understand that. But I'm in the camp that let them be weird, let them experiment, and praise Microsoft for giving their teams a chance to do that.
No, that's fine. I agree with you, Miles, 100%. I agree with that sentiment. I don't say that, they shouldn't experiment or anything. I'm just saying I don't even agree that they should cancel it or whatever like Kid is saying. But what I'm saying that I agree with Kid is that when you show a trailer, at least show some context to gameplay, or not even the gameplay, but just to know what you're going to be doing in the game to some degree. And there was nothing there.
Well, I think
showing any of that.
Yeah, I think there's just it's like kind of a disconnect versus what's happening now versus what's going to happen in the future. I don't think Xbox is going to have this problem in the future, mostly due to what Rand was just saying earlier. They have way more studios. So you got to think 2018, they had an influx of studios that they purchased. They had Bethesda come on board this year, and they felt kind of pressure from the fan base to like kind of show what these studios are working on, because it's been so long since, like Kid said earlier, people out there saying 600 days since we seen the last Xbox exclusive be announced of what they're making. So they felt like they had to come out and say something. Now, I don't think that's going to be a problem in the future, because I think by the time we get to next year, we're going to see stuff that's coming out in 2023. Then we get to 2023, we're going to start seeing things that's coming either late 2024, early 2025. Because I think it's just, as these studios release games, you're going to start getting a carousel going where games are going to be kind of being announced. You're going to hear rumors of them, and then they're going to be close enough where they can actually show tangible gameplay, or at least, like you said with Redfall, something where you can actually latch on to say, oh, okay, so this is what this game is going to be about. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just that we're living in an age right now where Xbox did a lot of things at one time in a very short amount of time, and they're still trying to buy goodwill back from their fan base from the generation from before. So you're seeing a bunch of games that are way far out. But the closer and closer we get to like 2022 and 2023, you're going to see that dissipate a lot. And you're going to start seeing a normal cadence from them in the way that they talk about and release those games. And you'll probably see more gameplay quicker, because there's so many more studios producing that product over the course of years.
Now, that's a great discussion about Everwild, because I was kind of interested in what you guys thought. And I did not expect Spoov to say to cancel it, so that's...
I mean, it's a legit. That's a legit thought, though. I mean, I never thought about it that way, but it's actually something legit. But that's smooth for you.
Yeah. Well, Lord Roughness says, I made a controller today in the colors of the Barbadian flag, blue and yellow, with Bajan style written on the front. Verg says, Rand, let's not forget when Xbox wasn't showing anything, people just want them to show a JPEG. I'm okay with early showings. And Face says, hey, Fonz, when it comes to $70 price point, yeah, it sucks, but you can't tell people what to do with their money just because Game Pass exists. It might become taboo to buy games now.
Yeah. Well, this. I've never told anybody not to buy a game at $70 or $80, $100. You can buy a game for any price. For me personally, I won't do it. And I only speak for myself. I would never tell you not to buy it. So enjoy.
I don't think buying games is going to be taboo. I mean, hell, Microsoft even says Game Pass subscribers buy more games.
Well, you get them at a discount within Game Pass as well. So
it's just. I think, I don't know. People can do what they want. If they want to buy games, let them buy games. If people enjoy playing them off of Game Pass, then let them play them off of Game Pass. Like, I don't know. I think it's rather
weird that whenever you speak up against $70 games on a personal level, people always assume that you're telling others not to buy these games at that price point, and that has never been the case with me. I've put that out there front and center, saying, look, do what you want. I'm doing what I'm doing because I don't feel like the $70 price point is it is something that I should be doing.
Right.
I'm not telling others not to do it.
King Device says, I agree with Miles because they might not fully know what the game is going to be about fully. They may just be trying out different ideas. Yeah. So
I think at that point, don't show it.
yeah. I got one small topic and one to close out the show. And this one's for you, Miles.
Oh,
And we're gonna have a rapid fire thing here after you kind of briefly explain what's going on. What's going on with Abandon and like this whole conspiracy that it's a secretly Hideo Kojima game?
yes.
Because
if
I
you
know you
haven't
love your conspiracies. I know you love them.
Let's put on those tinfoil hats, y'all. We going down the rabbit hole. So there was this game called Abandoned that was revealed a little while ago with kind of like a gameplay teaser as a PlayStation 5 exclusive. And it kind of showcased these hyper-realistic graphics in a first-person horror setting. And people started making comparisons to Silent Hills immediately because people are just obsessed with Silent Hills and they just won't let it go. They won't let the Kojima Silent Hills dream die. So it's been really fascinating to see all these comparisons and parallels made with this game. So the recent developments, the game's director, if you translate his name to Japanese, it's Hideo. So there's all these little Easter eggs that they're pulling off. Jeff Keighley was on Reddit in the DMs of his Twitter DMs basically saying that these guys came to him about getting the game shown at a Summer Game Fest or the Game Awards. So there's all this weird connection between Jeff Keighley, Hideo Kojima, and this game that's codenamed Abandoned by Blue Box Game Studios. So the overall conspiracy theory, just broad strokes, is that this is going to be revealed to be either Silent Hill by Hideo Kojima or just a Kojima horror game exclusively for PS5. Ooh. And it's been an absolute mess. They were teasing on Twitter that their game starts with an S and ends with an L a few days ago, and their mentions were destroyed, devastated. I gifted and joked and said, why would you do this? Why on earth would you tease this? And then they backpedaled super hard and tried to say, oh, no, sorry. We were not trying to say that this is Silent Hill. We have no affiliation with Konami. We have no affiliation with Kojima. And now they've opened up this can of worms that they cannot close. So whatever this game is, it's going to be revealed soon. And when it's not Silent Hill by Hideo Kojima, this poor team's Twitter feed is ruined until the end of time.
That's crazy.
So I guess the question is, do you guys believe this is a Hideo Kojima game and it's all just a big conspiracy and it's going to be revealed? Or do you think it's just people taking this stuff way too far and it's just an indie dev who's trying to kind of get some cachet by sort of making it seem like it's a Kojima game? Ains is probably like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
No, I know. I've got a couple of friends that are diving into it like this, and I was like, I'll be honest with you guys. I don't give a shit about Kojima. Don't give a shit about Blue Box, anything. Just give me Silent Hill. Please. I'm dying for Silent Hill to come back. But in this case, I say no. I don't think this is some wide-ranging Kojima conspiracy. No, I don't think it is.
So you think it's just an indie guy trying to get his name out there? Just
yeah, I don't know, honestly. Maybe. We'll see.
Forte, is this a secret Kojima game or no?
No, man, this ain't got nothing to do with Kojima. It got nothing to do with Silent Hill. The game they're making might start with an S and an L, but they should have thought about it before they put it out there. Because you know what? It's going to be funny when that game does get renounced and it's an S and an L, and then they say, oh, it does start with an S and it does end with an L, but it's not Silent Hill. And they're going to be like, oh, Lord, you should have thought about this before you did that tweet.
Yeah. Smooth. What do you think, man? Is this a secret Kojima game, or is it just some indie dev trying to get some clout and some pre-release hype for his title?
Yeah, I'm with the latter. I think this is just an indie guy because remember the guy had to come out and clarify, and then he realized he got a lot of following or hype prior to him announcing that, oh, this is not a Kojima thing, and I think he's just riding the wave. It's probably going to be some sort of like what's that game that got announced for PS5? Quantum Error. That's like haven't seen a lot of days. It's probably going to be a scenario like that, but I don't think this is a Kojima game at all.
Right. Fonz, what do you think?
I doubt it, but I feel about Kojima. But anyway, what about all those people out there looking into it and seeing like, well, if you put it into Google and translate his name into Turkish, it comes out to Hideo, or the guy's name freaking from, the guy who's attached to this blue box. I'm like, really? People are really reaching to put it in Turkish, translation and stuff. But anyway, I just find the whole thing kind of odd. And whoever said it is 100% right when this is shown not to be silent.
It's just like how Miles was talking about earlier.
Yeah. Flame says Blue Box, when I looked them up, made an early access game they stopped supporting suddenly. Buyers beware. They're just writing PS5 hype due to starvation. Certainly possible. I mean, there is a Reddit dedicated to this, and a lot of the information is very convincing when you look into it, but it's just like, I don't know. I don't think it's Kojima either, but a lot of people really, really do want to believe that it is. I think because a lot of them are kind of upset that Kojima might be working with Xbox. I think there's a little bit of that as well, where it's like, no, Kojima's still with PlayStation. See, and this is this game that looks like trash. By the way, I don't know if you guys seen the trailer for Abandon. It looks horrible.
Does not run well.
And it's I expect way. How do you feel about the state of Xbox moving forward? And what was the single thing? If you go back and think about the conference, Nate, give me one thing that stood out to you the most. And I'm going to start with the best spot, Kid Smooth.
Holy crap. Wait a minute. The best thing that stood out to me.
Yeah, the thing that, if you had to pick one thing that stood out the most to you from the conference, what was it? And how do you feel about the state of Xbox now after seeing this year's E3?
Crap. Okay. Yikes. I'll say this. I was very surprised, and it felt like, I hope I'm using the right words. It felt comforting to see Todd Howard open the show. It just kind of made the reality of Bethesda and Xbox like, oh, it's a real thing. They're Xbox, right? So that was like a cool thing. And but the thing that was to me the best of the show and that stood out to me, that left my mouth literally on the floor, was, I'm sorry, Forza Horizon 5. I just thought it was like, I was like, oh, this is, even though it's a cross-gen game, I was like, wow, this is next gen. Like, some of those visuals literally remind me of like when I saw Hellblade for the first time. You know how they panned the camera across the ground, you see the details in the rocks, and then it brought me back to that Unreal Engine 5 demo, and like the quality of some of the stuff that they were showing was that. But the thing is, it was like in real time being played, and I'm like, this is crazy. And I didn't think Forza Horizon could impress me more. I thought they sort of hit a peak already. And so I was like, well, it's going to be, slightly better since it's cross-gen, slightly better than what we got, last year. And it's going to be at 60 frames per second. Voila. And then they show this, and I'm like, holy crap. I did not expect this to be the best looking thing at the show. And like, and I was just very, very surprised. And, I think, Forza Horizon was like the best thing shown. It was the one that had me most shocked. But it was cool seeing Todd Howard and Starfield open the show.
All right, cool. Ains, how do you feel about the state of Xbox now after this year's E3, and what was the one thing that stood out to you the most from their showing?
Yeah, so feel really, really good about Xbox. I think they are in a very strong position from an ecosystem perspective, and I think they're in a unique position from an ecosystem perspective. The breadth of what they're capitalizing on, and I think that Phil and Satya setting the tone even before Summer Game Fest kicked off was important, and I think it just shows that the wealth of what Microsoft is good at and their resources, which very few, if any, companies can match globally, are behind the gaming brand now within it. And I think that's incredibly important. I think they have the technology, the vision, and the backing to really create something that's fundamentally unique in the gaming industry, which is incredibly exciting, especially if you're like most of us here, right, who have been a fan of this brand and the franchises, the IPs, the consoles for so long. So I feel really, really good about it. It's an exciting time, and I think it's great to see so much hype and excitement from people in the community about it. The one thing that stood out to me would be just the breadth of what they have coming. We've been waiting a while now for this vision to kind of come to fruition, right? Of everything that I just kind of mentioned, but the games has been the thing that people have been really waiting on, and it's here, right? Game Pass is the delivery mechanism, and all of these relationships and the studios are starting to kind of ramp up and get content delivered, and it's just going to, it's just going to snowball from this point on. Like, people are excited now. Wait until we get to 2020, late next year, 2023, etc. It's going to be even crazier, and I think that's just incredibly exciting. It's a fun time.
Right. Miles, state of Xbox after E3 moving forward, and that one special thing that you remember forever.
Ooh. You know what feels so good to say, Rand?
What?
And
Tell
everyone
me.
else in the Xbox community right now is there literally has never been a more exciting time to be just someone who loves gaming, but especially an Xbox fan. I have never been more confident or more excited about the future of Xbox ever. I prefer Xbox, so you can imply whatever bias you want there. I have a PlayStation 5, I have a Switch, I have a gaming PC. But what this show did for me is it solidified that Xbox, everything they've been telling you that they're doing and going to do, they are starting to execute that now. The biggest thing for me is them starting the show saying, we're going to show you 30 games. 27 of the 30 games we're showing you today are launching day one into Xbox Game Pass. So the narrative that, Game Pass has throwaway games or filler games, that was completely shut down because they showed a huge scope of games launching into Xbox Game Pass, and they told you loud and clear that if you support Xbox and if you invest into our ecosystem, we are going to reward you with great games, great content, and the best value in gaming. So all this kind of marketing buzz and PR speak and all this stuff that, they've been kind of regurgitating, and we've been in the community like vocal about it, we're seeing it happen. And it feels so good to see a company respect its players, respect its audience, and build something that we haven't seen in the gaming ecosystem from anyone else. So for me, the most exciting thing about the showcase is what Xbox has delivered on the promises that they made 3-4 years ago.
Excellent. Fonz, what do you think, buddy?
Yeah. For me, I think overall with the conference, what stood out to me most is the fact that the perception of Halo Infinite was changed dramatically.
It
from
definitely did a
what we saw
180,
last
wasn't
year.
it? Oh, my Lord.
It was a complete 180. And I think that this goes hand in hand with what I'm going to say about, Xbox going into the future. The perception is changing on a massive, serious competition in this industry. And I feel like Xbox going forward with this, whole perception being changed, and the fact that, yeah, they do have all these games coming for them. They destroyed the narrative that Xbox has no games. I really feel like Xbox is doing something right now on all fronts, from pro-consumer stuff to just, the overall value we get in Game Pass is just amazing. Full of Game Pass. And I was one of those guys that were going, hey, I don't know about this, gaming, digital gaming, and will it kill, physical back then? And I was all about physical games and stuff. And I was really leery about what it would do to the console space. Where would consoles go? They're going into xCloud now, and people are worried about consoles disappearing. I say fear not, because as long as there's demand for these consoles, they will keep pumping them out. At the end of the day, I just feel very strongly going for, it's just a bright future for Xbox. It really is. And that perception, like I said, is key. It's what's changing in a lot of minds out there of gamers. And yeah, it's a fun ride to, go along with Xbox on this journey and see, what's happening as a gamer and stuff, because I just love gaming, man. And I love to see where they're headed. It's really good.
I mean, I 100% agree with you. Forte, I know you're going to have some big speech planned because that's just how you are, you're the wordsmith. So the floor is yours, buddy.
No, so this is something that they've been doing for the last few years, not just this year. 2018, they started the message. 2020, they reinforced it, and they finally lived the reality this year at E3 by showcasing the games, and then, like Fawn said, the promise of games coming in the future. I've always been one of the marquee games that really stood out to me once again after being super down on it last year and seeing that resurgence around that game and that studio and seeing what they were able to put on the screen today to get us excited for what's coming later this year, I think was an amazing move. And I never thought that I would ever see Forza Horizon 5 look better than it actually did. It just showcases the fact that they know what they're doing. We're just here to go along for the ride and take it all in as it happens, and let these entities, let these developers and publishers do what they need to do. We can be critical when we need to be critical, but we also need to celebrate when they do an amazing job. And I think Xbox has shown us that the future is very bright for them. But this is just the beginning. It's only starting just now.
Yeah.
Is that a good enough speech for you?
I
sir?
mean, I love it, Forte. I love it. I mean, I pretty much agree with everybody's position here. I've said it before. I've never been more excited for the future of Xbox. They're going to completely nail it on the hardware front. The Series X is an amazing console. They've already talked about how they have more hardware planned. So even though, you'll have some outlets out there talking about Xbox is ditching TV or Xbox is ditching console to go to TV and elsewhere, it's not true. They're always going to be a console. My biggest thing with Xbox for years was the lackluster first party. Only 5 studios. That's completely uplifted or overhauled to 23 studios, and then we're finally seeing a lot of what they have to offer. The games aren't here yet, but the games that they do have are looking really impressive, and their service Game Pass is, who knows if it's maybe too early to tell if it'll change the industry, but it definitely, Game Pass is making people look at Xbox in a different light, where it's like, man, I could subscribe for this amount and save myself a lot of money. It's definitely a game changer, and who knows where the ceiling is for Game Pass and Xbox. So it's like, I don't know. I think it's going to be a great time for gaming in general, whether you're a PlayStation fan or a Nintendo fan or an Xbox fan. It seems like everybody's actually brought their A game this time to a generation, right?
Feels great.
Almost.
Feels great.
Usually, someone always screws up in some manner, and this time everybody's doing really good. So yeah, that's going to be the show. I really appreciate everyone being here. Over 1,500 watching for the majority of the podcast. Sorry that Jez wasn't here. Make sure you wish him well on Twitter or DM him because he's fighting vertigo. He went to the hospital, so make sure you wish him well. But I want to thank my excellent panel here today, who held it down for Jez. Really excited about Xbox, and I'm going to say, hey, Ains, Porsche Power, my friend, where can everybody find you? I know I put everything in the description, but tell the people what you do and where they can check you out at.
Yeah, man. First of all, big shout out to Jez. Hope he's, best wishes to him. Hope he gets well soon. Rand, thank you so much for the invite, man. I love hanging out here, hanging out with you guys. It's been a great conversation, so I appreciate it. I'm easy to find, Porsche Power on Twitter. I go by Ains. Not a lot of people called my name, so I'm easy to find. And then just everything we do over at seasongaming.com. So covering news, reviews, opinions, channel, all that, weekly podcast, and completely staying away from the bullshit. So anyone stop by, we'd appreciate it. And again, man, thanks. It's been fun hanging out with you guys.
I did the Bitcast with them last week. It was an incredible time. People were talking about The Punisher. People were talking about X-Dong. I got
Don't
Ains,
get me in trouble, Ray.
I got Ains to admit that Mass Effect 2 is better than Mass Effect 1. So it was an excellent time.
Yeah. Man.
For the record, he didn't say that, but I like to say that he did. Fonz, my buddy, man, thanks for being here. Tell the people your incredible show that you do every Sunday that you started recently, man. It's awesome. I was on there on Sunday with Ramon Terrell.
Yeah.
But tell everybody what's going on with you.
First I want to give a shout out to Jez. Feel better, man. It took 5 of us to hold down your position, buddy. So you are missed here. And I want to do a show with Jez here one day. So yeah, got to come back, Jez. Get well soon. Anyway, you can find me at Fonzarelli Gaming here on YouTube, where I, make a video every week, and then I do my show every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's Games Talk Live, where I usually go one-on-one with a guest and talk for an hour about this hobby we all love. This week I had a special episode where I had 2 guests. That it would be very rare. It would take, another special occasion, but it was E3. I wanted to talk about it with a couple of good friends. And Rand, thank you for coming on the show. It was very, very good, very solid, very fun. I enjoyed my time here. The chat was excellent. Thank you guys for coming out to see us. Always enjoy, interacting with chats with whatever podcast I'm on. It's just awesome to, interact with people. Anyways, yeah, you can find me at Fonzarelli Gaming.
Thanks. Well, I mean, I love you, Fonz. You're the best, man.
Thank you, buddy. Right back at you. Oh, yeah, and you can catch me on Dealer Gaming's channel every Tuesday. RDX podcast. But most of you probably heard of it. Yeah, good show.
Miles Dampier, Jez's protege. Thank you for being on here. You do an amazing job you make incredible videos, way better than I ever could. I know you do podcasts normally on Saturday, Xbox Chatterdays, but tell the people where they can find you. Everything's in the description. Hopefully everybody who's listening subscribes to these wonderful gentlemen, but let people know what you're up to, dude.
Yeah, no, really appreciate you having me on. It's been a blast. The audience loves Jez. I love Jez. Jez is an awesome dude. So yeah, definitely wish him well. But if you want to harass me, I'm basically, Jez's minion over on Windows Central Gaming. I run our YouTube channel over there, and then like Rand mentioned, every Saturday I do a podcast called Xbox Chatterdays. I've had a ton of amazing folks like Rand himself over there. I've had Paris on, having a lot of fun with that. And yeah, if you want to send me some memes or get at me on Twitter, it's just at Miles Dampier. And then, oh wait, what's this? I got a special message from Jez Corden himself. He's coming in here. Oh hey Jez, what's up? Hello, everyone. This is Jez Corden with Windows Central Gaming, and I just want to wish everyone a wonderful day.
I didn't know you sound like Mrs. Doubtfire.
I was going to say, yeah. Jeez.
Thank you, Jez. I really appreciate you coming on. I know you're just out of the hospital, but that really means a lot. People really wanted to hear your voice, and that's it for me.
You forgot to add in Halo looks like a Lego game, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, by the way.
Roblox.
Miles will be on my show this Sunday.
Oh, all right. That's going to be interesting. All right. Next up, we got the best spot, Kid Smooth. Been holding it down for Xbox for God knows how many years now. Tell the people where they can find you and what you've been up to.
Yeah, man. Been playing a lot of games, but you can find me on Twitter at Kid Smooth if you really want to kind of get instant reactions and see where all the shenanigans take place. It takes place on Twitter. Go to the youtube.com/Kid Smooth. I also do a podcast called Planet Xbox Podcast. That's every Wednesdays at 8:33 p.m. Eastern. And I also do another podcast with the Notorious DRE called Let's Talk Games, which I usually go right after your podcast, but I'm so out of it I may not make it today. And we're looking to trying to get this podcast, still trying to get guests on, still got to get you on, Rand, and we had Miles Dampier on a few weeks back. That was an awesome episode. And hopefully, we can get trying to get Snowbike Mike and NGS on fairly soon. So just keep a lookout for that.
Awesome. And then last but never least, the man of a million podcasts, Gaming Forte. Where can everyone find you, man?
Listen, man, I stop with that smoke. Yeah, this is great. This was an amazing time with you guys, and shout out to you, Jez. It's not as shrimp tacular without you being here, man. So shout out to you and the Shrimp Squad. But yeah, Gaming Forte everywhere, YouTube and Twitter, Xbox Live, PlayStation. DPS Podcast is the show that we run every Thursday. I alternate with my best friend, Slow-Mo Backslap. This week it was on my channel. I had, like you said, the amazing Rand Thor on there with Jeff Grubb. And next week, more to come. We announced it on our Twitter account on Twitter, so make sure you follow it over there. And check us out on Brat Podcast every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Also panel over there too. So just enjoy. E3's over, guys. Just enjoy your week and get back to playing games, man. But thanks again, Rand. This was an amazing time.
Yeah, no problem.